What can I say except you're welcome?
Now the whole world can acknowledge me.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Miami the Great. I'm here today with a special guest. I have all my co-hosts here. We're gonna go over Backlash, also Raw and stuff. So, what's going on, Final Boss Lady? We're here live here now on YouTube, also X. Y'all please follow, give us a follow on both accounts. We have a special guest today, Final Boss Lady. We have the EVP, CJ EVP here today, who's going to go over Backlash card with us, also Raw card with us. Let's get the EVP up here.
What's going on, guys?
EVP, what's going on, man? What's going on, man? Y'all see, we got the links down below. Please give us a follow, subscribe here on Talk It Up. Me and Final Boss Ladies tag names on X are down at the bottom, going scrolling across. But yeah, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get into the first card of the day. I guess we'll get into Backlash. Before we get into Backlash, how was Backlash for you, EVP? I'll start with you, then I'll go to Final Boss Lady. How did you enjoy Backlash?
Yeah, I mean, it was good for the limited amount of time of build that they had for the show. I know I've seen a lot of people say, that they felt like it was kind of just thrown together, but for me, like quality match style, I feel like Backlash, the matches were a lot better than majority of the matches that we had at WrestleMania. Even with like the smaller card, even from start to finish, like I can't really pinpoint one match that I can say like it was just absolutely terrible. So yeah, I mean, I would probably give about 7.5.
Yeah. I feel it's a 7 for me too. Backlash is always one of those PLEs where you don't get too many matches. Get 5 matches. Can you hear me, Final Boss Lady?
So yes, I can hear you, but you sound very shaky. It does not sound good on your end.
Yeah, it's kind of muffled for me too.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I guess my mic is not. But I was saying, how was Backlash for you?
Well, not everybody heard me sneeze. I mean, I thought it was decent for what it was worth. Typical 5-match card. Even though it was 5 matches and they weren't the greatest matches of all time, no pun intended, there was no real sleeper matches. So I say really realistically, maybe about an 8.
Well, let's start with the card here. What we got? We'll start with Lyra, Valkyria, and Becky Lynch. This was the first match that started off with us Saturday. I was totally surprised with Lyra Valkyria winning this match. great match. I'm not happy with the outcome. I thought Becky was going to win. We'll get into Raw about what Becky was saying, what she said on Raw, but I didn't like the fact that she didn't win. I was so shocked, but I think ever since when the whole Becky Hogan came out, I think that's when they came up with a different decision. Final Boss Lady, what was your thoughts about this match?
Um, so there were a lot of like roll ups and weird near fall spots at one point where they were just trying to see who can get the 3 count faster. I'm not really a fan of matches that do that for that length of time. I felt like that was just not the best way for them to go, especially with the story that they're building. You know, the whole story is that this is now, the teacher versus student type of feud that they have, at least with those two. And then, we found out it's Becky against the fans on Monday. We'll get into that later. Yeah, I didn't like the whole roll up. I'm gonna try to pin you. Okay, let's do this move, this armor. I'm gonna go ahead and try to pin you 1, 2, 3, and we're going back and forth. I do like the little bit of storytelling that they did do when Becky got frustrated when she couldn't pin her. So I do like when they have those matches, like when they have those little spots, like when they show the veteran being kind of defeated, that real zoom in and they sit there after they get the kick out and they just kind of have that look of shock. I love it when they do that in matches in general. So I give them that. But yeah, I understand why she lost now, because of the backlash that she got. No, again, no pun intended, with her return, with the Becky Hogan, ideology around that. Also leads into her now with the whole crash out Becky type of run that she's going to have. So now seeing what happened on Monday, now I understand why she lost, where they're going with it. But at the time, I had no idea she was going to lose. I thought she was going to win because, Lyra Valkyria is a newcomer. We got Becky, she's been around for quite some time. She's held titles for a long period of time, part of the Four Horsewoman. So yeah, at the time I didn't see it, but now I definitely see the idea where they're going. The match itself, was okay. Nothing too sparkly and fantastic, but for what it was, I thought it did a good amount of storytelling within that match.
Yeah, I felt the same way too. Um, EVP CJ, what was your thoughts about this match? Did you like the outcome and that Liv Valkyria hold on to the title?
I'm kind of torn, honestly. Becky, about a week before the PLE, she did some sort of interview or report with Wrestle News talking about WWE was a big hypocrisy. I talked about it, on other shows on where, like upper management, are going to people like her and Charlotte and the older female wrestlers and asking them to, put this younger talent on, but like they're not doing the same thing for like Punk, who's like almost 50, John Cena, Roman Reigns, people like that. But Roman, obviously has been putting people over. But she was really upset with the fact of that. I mean, the storytelling was good. Obviously, Lyra, beat her back in NXT. The big problem I had with the match, to be truthfully honest about it, is it really made Becky Lynch's finisher look just incredibly weak. Lyra kicked out of 3 manhandle slams. I think that's terrible. I mean, it's not it's, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to build, Triple H loves Lyra and ultimately like they want her to be this huge baby face. Like I said, it was the only match I got wrong. I thought Becky was winning. She did take Bailey's spot at WrestleMania just to win the tag titles. So it was similar to a Becky Hogan situation. So people can, people had the right and the feelings to feel the way they did because she just walked in and said, "Okay, I'm taking Becky's spot, and I'm going to win the tag titles, but we're going to drop them the next night. I'm going to go heel." So I don't really like that part of it, but I personally thought Becky was going to win and then, continue the feud and ultimately put Lyra over maybe at something like a SummerSlam. But you put Bailey back into this feud, and I think it could cook, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, Lyra kicking out of 3 manhandle slams, like it kind of took the wind out of the sails for me personally.
Yeah, and that you see it there, Liv Valkyria winning and still holding on to this title for her winning. I was very shocked. Like I said, I'm with you, CJ. I did not like the ending of that when she did retain. I thought so too. I guess the whole comments from the whole people of the IWC Becky Hogan thing got to her, and I think they probably changed this match right at the end, CJ and Final Boss Lady. I think there was some changes. I felt like maybe Becky was going to win, and maybe there was some changes at right at the end before the show started. Like I said, I did not like the ending of it. Her retain. I felt like Becky would have did more for this title than Valkyria, but we'll see what she goes to next. Um, it's just I didn't like it. Last thoughts from you two guys. Did you what I give this match I give it a 5 out of 10. I'll at least give it that. You guys got any last thoughts before we get to our next match?
About a 6 for me. There was some storytelling that they slid in there, so I give them credit for that.
For me, I'm probably gonna go with Final Boss Lady. A 6. I will say this though, to both of you guys, you know, there was a card put in place before Backlash, and every news site out there, it wasn't just like some fake, people that just put stuff on X. Like they literally changed the entire match card besides John Cena and Randy Orton, like an hour before the PLE. So like, I'm just like, I love WWE. I love all wrestling, but Triple H, like, man, like I don't understand like why he's so worried about social media and leaks, because let's face it, guys, like we're like, I wasn't born in the 80s, like that stuff was around, like I don't know, probably 90s at least. Like you're not getting rid of it. Like I don't care what they do. So like changing the match card, I didn't like that, but there's no way I can rank this match higher than like a 6, because it, like Final Boss Lady said, like I can only really base on storytelling. I would have ranked it higher if Lyra wouldn't have kicked out from 3-man out slam. But that's just, I don't know why they would do that. That's just, it makes Becky look weak as a heel, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go get to our next match. It was Jacob Fatu, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, and Damian Priest. This match for me was one of the matches that I did like, guys. We got the debut of Joe Cobbs. I'm not too familiar with Joe Cobbs, Final Boss Lady, and CJ EVP. I don't know if you guys are, but I liked it. It was a great debut. Crowd really gave him a good reaction from when he debuted. It seems like we're starting back up a group again. I thought we was kind of done with this. I thought we was gonna. I think this still may end up with a feud between Solo and Jacob. But I don't know what part Joe Cobbs plays in this, which makes me get back interested in this. The way the facial looks that Jeff Cobbs, my bad. Jeff Cobbs did look at um Jacob, and Jacob looked back at Jeff Cobbs. He was like, he gave him that look. I understand. I don't know if you two knew these two had history. I think it was at MLW where they actually had a match. Great match. I did get to see it on YouTube with these two. So they have actually wrestled on the Indies before. Great match between these two. Would love to see where this story goes. It gets us back interested into Solo. Um, who's giving him these people? Who's is he still with the bloodline? Is he still getting the elders? Are they still with him? Ever since the Ula father, we still haven't got Solo. He said once Roman won it, he said he was going to acknowledge him. He said at the Tonga, who's injured right now. I don't know where we go with this. Jacob did retain, which I'm not surprised. The interference, it didn't make him to me feel like he was less like he couldn't do the match himself. It'd be nice to see where we go next with Jacob. I think we're going to get something with him and Jeff Cobbs down the line. Do you guys see him doing something at Money in the Bank? Jacob Fatu, and what's your guys' thoughts on this match? Go ahead, CJ, EVP first.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I mean, Cobb was rumored for weeks to be making a debut. Heck, I even posted on Twitter like 30 minutes before the that match even started. I thought to myself, like, what are they gonna do with him though? Like, are they just gonna throw him into like some stupid story with the Miz, or like, or is he gonna feud with Aleister Black or something like that? Because Aleister just debuted, but they made the right move with him, like, because Jeff Cobb and Jacob Fatu, they do have a history. And after the press conference, after the match and after the show, Jacob said in the press conference, like, he didn't really know anything about it. So for me, I liked it. I think I didn't expect that to be like the biggest surprise of the night. I was expecting somebody in the main event. But I think that it can kickstart the bloodline story because it's been pretty dead, to be honest with you. Because everybody's kind of doing their own thing. Jay's World Heavyweight Champion. Sammy's dealing with Seth and Breaker. The Tongas are hurt. Roman's, on the Tribal Chief schedule. So like, he'll be back before Money in the Bank. But I mean, it's been dead, man. Since Solo lost to Ulafala, like, it's just not. He has not been good. He's just not. So for me, it feels like Solo's probably trying to recruit, and maybe try to form his own type of army type. I guess maybe when the Tongans come back, they join. Jacob's 100% going face at some point. Like, the fans are just eating it up. Like, they love Jacob. I could possibly see Jacob going back, like, not going back, but going and helping Roman at some point in time, dealing with this Seth Rollins problem, because eventually Seth and them are going to have to add a new member, because I mean, you seen like they were outnumbered Monday, so like they're going to have to do something. I mean, Seth and Breaker are not enough to take on the whole the whole roster. So the match was great. A little bit scary with the Drew McIntyre situation. Priest at the South of Heaven. Obviously, he didn't hit it the right way, and Drew's head hit the floor. Thankfully, he's okay after he was checked out after the show. But for me, it was the best match on the card, bar none, not even close. Jacob deserved to retain, and I think we are finally going to get paid off on the Jacob Solo story, and possibly Jacob Solo Saturday Night Main Event, but I don't know if they rush it. It could be a Money in the Bank type thing, but we're definitely going to see Jacob and Jeff Cobb at some point.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on Final Boss Way?
I thought the execution of it was beautiful. I did not see that coming in this match at all. I think when he came out was Bruce Swinger. So I loved it. Jacob looking confused and wondering why is he here and who is this person, and giving Solo shit, and you got Solo, barking orders, the same way that he used to do with Jacob. Um, and like CJ had mentioned, I mean, this will be a new direction for the Bloodline. Everyone is doing their own thing. Jay is out there defending his title that he just got at WrestleMania. Roman, he's dealing with he was dealing with Paul Heyman and Seth. So now we have another element, because it kind of felt that Solo and Jacob were kind of really lost, in everything. Of course, the Tongas are out with injury, but even them, before they were injured, they felt really, really lost and forgotten about, really, since Roman got the follow back during the Raw on Netflix debut, which I assume as it should have been the end of the Bloodline story. And then they was opening up new chapters. So now this is our next chapter, and I am excited to see it. But remember, there's a lot of dissension brewing between Jacob and Solo. Nick Aldis kind of stirred that pot a little bit in the way that you have Solo barking orders at Jeff Cobb. I mean, Jeff Cobb is, if they don't want to be more bloodliney, is more like Jacob. Jeff Cobb is the new Jacob, because now he's taking orders from Solo. So then you'll have Jacob, break away from Solo and Cobb, and then he'll feud with them. I think that's the direction that they were planning, because why plant the whole season of dissension between Solo and Jacob if you're not going to do that? I mean, Cena as a group will be great. Maybe they'll do that for a short term, to have them all be one unit, and then eventually you'll have Solo with Cobb, and then you'll have Jacob, battling those two. So I think that's kind of where they're going. They both want to be on the direction of Solo. They're fighting for that spot. That's why Jacob had that weird face when Cobb came out there. So I'm interested to see it now. I don't know if Roman plays a role into this story, because where we left off at was really more so geared towards Paul Heyman. But as you see, they've really moved on, right? They're working on stuff with Punk. So when Roman comes back, we have all these different things he can now do now. So you're gonna be, with this story with Cobb and Jacob and Solo, or is he gonna be with the other story with with Punk? What was this with Punk? Is he gonna just push that aside and then go with Seth and his group? So now we have all these doors open that we didn't have just a few weeks ago. We didn't know what they were going to do with Roman, and now we have all these endless possibilities. So for that, I am excited, and I thought it was really well done at Backlash.
Yeah, I think the question I want to ask you to EVP and Final Boss Baby is, do you think Cobbs is the new enforcer, right hand man? Does this play anything into the bloodline, or like how Final Boss Baby just said, or we're probably just starting, he's just starting his own group, maybe doing his own thing? Is this still playing a part of a bloodline? Is Cobbs the new enforcer? I'm gonna start with you first, EVP. Do you think he's the new enforcer, the right hand man, or this is not playing into some bloodline thing? I'll start with you.
Oh, I think it's 100% with the bloodline. I think that, like I said, Solo needs to, that they have to do something with Solo. And this is a way to finally pay that story off with Jacob and Solo. Like it was rumored to happen back at WrestleMania. Solo was rumored to win the United States Championship. Apparently TKO said he is not moving the goalpost. Jacob is. Jacob stepped in his spot. So like I said, several times, Jacob has completely taken all of Solo's spotlight, and Solo, he don't like that. So I think he's assembling people, and the Tongans will be back eventually. I feel like they may go with Cobb and Solo as well. And I'm telling you, eventually it's gonna be, one side of the bloodline here, and when Jay drops, obviously Jay, Roman. I think Jacob will be over there with Roman as well as a face. And yeah, I mean, I think this is a way to kickstart the bloodline. But The only problem is if they're going to do this and pay this off, this has to end with Roman Rock. If it doesn't, then what's the point? Because we can't just keep saying, oh, it's Roman Rock this year, but he's got a movie next year. Maybe we'll do it at 43. I mean, let's face it, The Rock's a goat, like he's built like a statue, but he also getting older. I mean, if he wins an Oscar, you really think he's going to want to get back in the ring? So, like, this story has to end with Roman and Rock. And if it doesn't, then I think they should put the prize in the bag on it. Like, I mean, that's the ultimate finish for this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one too, EVP CJ. Final Boss Baby, do you feel like Cobbs is playing into a enforcer role, or is he just the right hand man? And do you agree with EVP? Does this have to end with Rock versus Roman?
I mean, it could, but it doesn't have to, right? Because this is a whole separate story from the initial story. This is a brand new chapter, right? We have a whole new player. Everyone is really right now doing different things, as I just said a few moments ago. So it doesn't have to lead to Roman and Rock. Of course, we all want that. Are we going to get it? I mean, we don't know if we're ever going to get it now. And the fact that even if we do get it, Roman said he's going to do 2 more years. So, and we all have this theory that's going to be Roman's and Rock's last match. So we're still 2 years, behind the curveball there. So you have to keep all that stuff kind of in mind now, right? As far as Cobb's role, I mean, yeah, he can kind of go for a new enforcer, or maybe he just turns on Solo and becomes the brand new leader. I mean, these are all the avenues that we have now. Remember, a few weeks ago, we had that little great segment where Solo said that no one believed in Jacob, no one gave him a chance. He was, the outsider and this guy, and he brought him in, and the family didn't want him. He brought him in and gave him everything. Now he's, United States champion. So we had that. Well, maybe now Cobb is now that guy. There's different pieces they can really go with this. I just hope that they don't blow this opportunity, because there's so many different ways they can go ahead and make this happen. And like CJ mentioned, we have the Tongas out on injury. What happens when they come back? What's going to be their piece now? Because now we not one, but we got 2 guys that's going to be returning back. I mean, so what's going to be their role? So there's a lot of pieces into it. And like The Rock said, we're going to sit back and enjoy the ride they're going to take us on.
Yeah, we had Lena. She said Solo and Jeff can turn on Jacob, and then it will be Jeff and versus Jacob, and then you can have Solo versus Jacob. As many rivals you can build off of this, which is true. You can go a lot of different ways with this story. We'll have to see where they're going to go with this. Jacob, I feel like the same way EVP said, where I feel like this is going to make Jacob go with Roman. And that's how you probably start building back up his team. I don't know if Jay and Jimmy will come, because right now Jay's in the world title, and we don't. I think they're going to probably just give Jay his own path. The people he got coming after him, it seems like this man has set his own pathway. I feel like he doesn't have to be with Roman anymore. I feel like he's already a made man now. Maybe Jimmy, yes, maybe, because the way they've been doing Jimmy, oh my God. But we'll get into that a little later. Let's go to our next match, which was the Pat McAfee and Gunther match. We got Gunther as the winner of the match. How you guys feel about this match? I'm going to start with the Final Boss Baby. What was your thoughts about this match when it comes to Gunther and Pat McAfee?
So as you know, I was excited for this match, right? I really wanted to see where this went. We all thought it was probably going to be a squash match. Nope, it went on for about 15 minutes. So I give Pat a lot of credit for that. We got Michael Cole involved, as he should have been. So we got that nice storytelling there. And of course, it ended how we thought it was going to really end, besides one little piece. So we knew that Gunther was going to win. We knew it was going to be in a submission hold, which, hey, they did tell that nice storytelling where Pat McAfee, he didn't tap out. He actually was just, they had to call the match off because he was passed out. They couldn't raise the arm up anymore. So he never quit. So he came off as, not weak. And it made Gunther just look like an absolute monster. I guess that was the idea. And then at the end, we saw that mutual sign of respect, which I thought was odd and weird. And commentary made sure to point that out. Hey, this is a sign of respect from Gunther to Pat. So it was just kind of odd. And I thought the whole idea was to write off Pat. I think a lot of us thought that, and I don't think that's where they're going with this. So I was like, well, what's the point of the match? Because you're not going to get another match out of Pat, right? So if you're not going to write him off, why are we having this match? Are we going to have Michael Cole get, a chance against Gunther? I mean, so what was the point of the match? You're not going to write him off. So for that, because, we're now on a Thursday, we saw what happened on Monday. I don't know. I was hoping more so of like a brutal write-off angle, like where they're stretching out poor Pat McAfee on like a stretcher, and he's riding the ambulance, like old school, and actually bring the whole ambulance vehicle into the arena, and they literally stretched him out is what I was hoping to see, and we didn't get that. We got a sign of respect once Pat McAfee woke up from his good night sleeper hole. So, but, again, 15 minutes, decent match. For me, because it was Pat, I give it a solid 7.
Yeah, and John said Pat McAfee was in them all cool grays, 11s. I did catch that. I'm going to just give my thoughts about it. I was suspecting a Goldberg angle, Goldberg tease. At first I was like, well, maybe Gunther was going to attack Pat right after the match again. But once he did the handshake, I was very shocked. Final Boss Baby and EVP when we got this, because I was just like, this is interesting that he shook his hand. And we know what's going to happen Monday. Like I said, we'll get into Monday a little later, where I'm just going to really give my thoughts about that when it comes to Gunther. But I thought we was going to get Goldberg or some kind of tease. I don't know what's going on. I guess the match is going to still continue to go on. Shouts out to Pat. I'm with you, Final Boss Baby. I think he could have probably sold it more. I don't think it's time for them to get wrote off. That's what I thought they was doing this match, to write them off, because I know the NFL season is coming up, and college NFL, he does do the hosting there. So we'll see. EVP, CJ, what's your thoughts about this match when it comes to Pat McAfee and Gunther?
I mean, I agree with what both of you guys said. I thought it was going to be a squash match. Apparently, but Pat McAfee came to fight. He had a couple of botches, but people got to understand he's not a professional wrestler. He's a commentator. He's a podcaster. He's an announcer for NFL, college football. I didn't really think they were going to write him off, because college football is still a few months away. August, September range. I know NFL don't open till like September 4th. I don't know about college, maybe late August, but I give a lot of credit to Gunther. I really feel like a lot of people crap all over Gunther, and I've done it myself with his title reign, but he was able to adjust he's able to adjust to his opponents, and he made it believable to the crowd and the audience that Pat McAfee had a chance. I mean, it was hilarious when Michael Cole was, holding his feet. Like, come on, Michael, you're not going to hold Gunther down for no 3 count. We know that's not happening. But, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest disappointment was I didn't see Bill Goldberg. The match is happening. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're waiting so long to pull the trigger on it. Like I've said to you, Miami, personal conversations, like Goldberg's about the money. He really is. I don't hate him or anything. He wants that big payday for his last match, and unfortunately, that's probably going to happen when they go to Saudi Arabia. So I think that's where we're at. I think that the Gunther situation. Once we get to Raw, like I'll touch on that, but I don't know what Paul Levesque's doing with going back to these same stories. But it was, for me, I'm going to give it a 7 because I was completely shocked on the match quality. Obviously, there was a couple of botches, but that's okay. Gunther did phenomenal. And then, obviously, Gunther gave him the sign of respect at the end, which I definitely didn't expect that to happen. I don't think we're going to see Gunther, Michael Cole. Let's don't do that. Poor Michael. Gunther. But let's be true. Let's be real. Gunther could have ended that match in like 30 seconds. But that's what I'm saying. Gunther told a story throughout that match, so he gained a lot of respect from me. I think that both of them performed well.
Well, if I was enamoring this match, I'll give it a 4 because you did have the moment where um Michael Cole did get involved. I think because the whole reason was because Pat was doing this match because of Michael Cole. And I think that's why they wanted to do that spot. I didn't mind the spot. Like I said, it was I thought, like I said, I thought they was doing this match to maybe write him off. I thought maybe he had something to go do. Um, Even if it came to doing on his show. That's why I thought they was doing this angle. I hope to God they're not gonna do Pat McAfee and Gunther and Michael Cole. Jesus guys, could you imagine that at WrestleMania? Jesus. But they love doing those matches when it comes to that. If we're waiting, I think the Saudi show is um October or August. I think we got a long way to go. So maybe that's why they did what they did when it came to Raw. Like I said, I give this match a 4. Final balls, baby. You got any last thoughts about this match? And any you want to give it a grade before we move to our next match?
I already gave it 1. I gave it a 7. I am shocked you gave it only a 4. But yeah, I gave it a 7.
Yeah, the reason why, I mean, for me, it wasn't one of the best matches. I understood why we was doing it. I understood why we went this way, this direction. Including Michael Cole. You got Wade Barrett in the background saying, "Michael Cole, get back here." He's getting a way better when it comes to commentary. He was doing it by himself for a while, and he had me interested in this match. Like EVP CJ said, we had to have conversations. It was like, man, they just need to come on and just get with this Goldberg match. What's the hold up? What are they waiting for? And maybe like CJ just said, it's about the money. I thought they was going to probably do it a little bit earlier because you got Money in the Bank. You have I think after the Money in the Bank, maybe I think we have another match after that, another PLE. We got a long way to go before we get to Saudi. So I think we're gonna have to sit back and wait for it. Unless they're trying to slap this title back on freaking Gunther and let Goldberg freaking win it on his last freaking retirement match. We all knew what happened at the last Saudi match when it came to him and Gunther. Goldberg, and I think it was the Fiend. I think that's who he faced it, Bray Wyatt at the time, where he won that title. And Jesus Christ, that match was horrible. So I'm hoping that's not what they're waiting for. I'm hoping they're not going to try to slap this title back on just for Goldberg to have his last hurrah. Because why would you do that? Because he's retiring. He's not. What, he's going to have him come on Raw and say, "Hey, I'm retiring. Thank you guys," and lay it down. I mean, we're back to square one. So I know the title has had 5 people hold it so far, and I think Jay's the 5th person, and he's have a lot of opponents go against him. But like I say, we'll get into that a little later. Let's get into our next match, which was Dominik Mysterio. It was Dominik versus Penta, and Dominik stayed champion after this match, and I'm not surprised it happened. You got American Akanio, whatever you want to call him. He interfered in this match, headbutted Penta, and cost him the match, which made Dominik win. Um, which I feel like that was the right decision, EVP and Final Balls, because I think one thing with Triple H here that he kept hearing Dominik get cheers. So, and then I'm surprised he didn't get no one in Judgment Day to cheat for him, but you went with a whole nother group. You went with a whole nother person that's not even in your group, who's not even involved with your group, and you had him interfere and cause Penta. Do you two guys see this match happen again, where Penta may do have a win, or maybe Penta does win the IC championship from someone? It might won't be Dominant, but it'll be someone else. I'll start with CJ EVP. What's your thoughts on that? You feel like Penta and Dominant?
I've been a big Dom fan for a long time. I've been calling for him to win the IC title. He got a monster pop at WrestleMania. Triple H told him to run back out there. You know, Judgment Day did try to interfere. They got 2 of them got kicked out. I don't know what Finn Balor was doing with the chair. They are really, really slow cooking the crap out of this. Finn Balor, Dominik, Liv triangle thing that they got going. We've seen Finn in the back with Roxanne the last 2 weeks on Monday Night Raw. We don't know what's cooking with that. You know, Dom got one of the biggest pops of the night, besides maybe Jeff Cobb and Fatu and Cena and Randy, obviously. But he's a tweener right now. I didn't see any reason possible to take the title off him. I'm not crazy about Dom beating Penta 3 straight times with interference, but I think that it was still the right call. Dominik just won the title at WrestleMania. I think ultimately, you know, they're slow burning it, but we possibly could see Dom and Finn at SummerSlam. Maybe we get the Demon back. That's what I think. That's what I'd like to see, possibly. I think Finn is probably going to be the one to take the title off of Dom. As far as Penta, like, he's great. Ray Phoenix is great, but El Grande Americano, aka Chad Gable, it makes sense for him to interfere because they're going to have this big Worlds Collide PLE coming up, and there was something you said earlier about Saudi. Like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the PLE after Money in the Bank will be Night of Champions, and that will be in Saudi. But they got the Worlds Collide coming up. So, like, Penta, I feel like maybe a Penta El Grande Americano mask for mask match is bound to be happening. And then Penta gets his revenge, and the whole world gets to see what we already know, and it's Chad Gable. But the match, like, it's at least a 7. Dominik's improved in the ring. I think the biggest thing for me is when John Cena came on the Pat McAfee show, Dominik Mysterio was listed as one of the guys that he said is going to be a force to be reckoned with in this company. And if John Cena says that, then you can pretty much bank on it. Eddie's son is definitely headed for big things. I call him Eddie's son. I know he's raised, but he looks like Eddie. But I mean, Dominik could win a world title one day. Like, I fantasy booked this. Like, I think he's getting a little too big for Liv now. Maybe when Mariah May comes in, he's like, all right, Liv, like, I went from Rhea to Liv. Well, it's time to get rid of Liv, and I'm gonna go with you, Mariah May, like something like that. Fantasy booking it. I'm sure Mariah don't need him either, but it's Dirty Dom. I mean, so who knows? Liv filming a movie, so the tag titles are irrelevant right now, but I give it about a 7.5, honestly. Because Dom has improved a lot in the ring. I don't know if Penta wins the IC title anytime soon, though. Honestly, I really don't.
Yeah, now I say the same thing too. Yeah, Eddie's son, he will be winning a heavyweight title. I did see that interview with John Cena that he said he will be a force to be reckoned with. He's got good quick, man. I remember when he first started off, it was a little shaky. Turning him heel was maybe the best thing for him. He plays. It seems like him and Rey Mysterio. Rey was born to be a babyface. Dominik was born to be a heel. I guess he does. He is Eddie's son because Eddie Guerrero was a great heel, a great tweener. I think that's where we're probably going to go with Dominik Mysterio. I love the way this match. I'm actually going to give this match a 7, guys. When it comes to me, because Penta and Dominik, man, what great chemistry they have. Like Dominik said in the post show, he said, I took on Penta 3 times and beat him. But all 3 matches was great. Penta came real close to beating Dominik. But both great matches from both guys, putting on some bangers with each other. I can see these two maybe going for it, a world title, or being in a world title picture, or facing each other for the world title. You never know, because they have such great chemistry in the ring. Let's go to you, Final Boss Baby. What was your thoughts when it came to Penta and Dominik Mysterio?
Yeah, so the match was pretty good. I like the little extra activity they had during the match. I love that you had Americano Grande. You know, he's doing the classic gimmick he does with the metal inside his mask. I like it when he just lays down, he just taps his head. I do like that. It's starting to grow on me a lot now. I'll be lying if I said it wasn't. Um, they had some more storytelling again with Judgment Day. You know, I was want to see a match without them coming down there, but they came. And the whole storytelling now is that Finn Balor took a long time to, you know, hand over that chair. And the referee called him and they said it was deliberate. So that's the, you know, the whole storytelling. And you got JD Madonna, he's mad at Finn for taking so long. So, and then they got ejected because they got caught. So that was the storytelling there. And then, of course, we heard about that continuation of that story on Monday when Don confronted Finn about that. And then Finn just said, you know, everything worked out in the end. But it wasn't thanks to you guys, though. But I did like all the little storytelling in there. I just wish we could have had more of a regular match because technically we don't really know the abilities, you know, of Dom and of Penta in this match because you had 2 interferences. You had Judgment Day and you also had, you know, a Grande in there, Americano. So that's the only piece that I kind of didn't like, but we kind of saw that coming. As far as Dominik, yeah, I think he's going to go far. I think now, especially that Liv is out shooting the movie, it gives him more of a break to skyrocket off, you know, as a solo competitor, moving away from the Liv Dom stuff, you know, without them technically breaking it off right now. He did do the Olivian, you know, in her honor, and they mentioned that on the announce table call, you know, so that's for baby cakes and whatnot. That's the little pet names they call each other. So they still, throughout the whole, Liv Dom is still there, but by her being away, it gives him time to really focus on other things. So I definitely kind of like that. Just, you know, it's not by design because she's doing a movie, but I just kind of like where they are right now. And even though, you know, he's doing the Three Amigos, which is homage to Eddie Guerrero, the great Eddie Guerrero, and he has the old school Eddie look. Because remember, Eddie looked different during the end of his run before his ultimate unfortunate passing. Right, he has short, spiky black hair. Right, so he's going like old school Eddie with the long hair and mustache. Right. Well, he still had a mustache, but it was more cut down at that point. But you know, Dom looks like Ray. Okay, like if you've seen Ray without the mask on, they look like twins. He just looks more like Eddie because he has the long hair. So I'm so tired of people saying he looks just like Eddie Guerrero. He only looks that way because he's trying hard to look that way, but he actually looks very similar to Ray. You just wouldn't know that because we haven't seen Ray off the mask in like a long time. Besides, sightings now, he's way older, but young Ray, he looks just like him. But I like where they're going with Dominik. I guess we're still doing Live Dom. We heard it on the announce table from Michael Cole. So we have all the different stories in there. I feel like at this point, maybe it should be done with the Live Dom story because he's doing well on his own. And then Liv is tied up doing other things with Raquel. I don't think we're gonna see the end of Live Dom until we see the end of Judgment Day. They have to kind of coincide together. If they were smart, they would make that turn all one big thing that just leads to everyone breaking up. Live Dom and Judgment Day. Maybe have Liv cause a match for Judgment Day, and that's how we spark everything. But I think when they do move from Live Dom and from Judgment Day, it should be all within the same story around the same time, and that's what breaks everyone apart. As far as waiting for the match, you know what? We've been given a lot of 7s, a lot of 6s, because of the classic El Grande Americano Chad Gable with the medal, him tapping his forehead, which I like him doing so much. And a little bit of storytelling we got with Judgment Day being ejected from ringside and Finn Balor taking forever with the chair. I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah, we got you frozen on our end, Final Boss, baby. You just in one stream here. I don't know if it's on CJ's end, but you just one frame. You just
it looks like it.
So she on a standstill.
So I have an avatar. Yay.
No, you just had a standstill, just in one motion, just one look. But yeah. When it comes to Dominik, I'm gonna touch on a few things, and then I know we're gonna move on to our last matchup at Backlash. Is the thing I do like about Dominik is the way you can probably get him, because we've been seeing it, CJ, and I know Final Boss will probably be back, where you can have him come and you've seen the teaser with him and Finn Balor. Finn has been staring at that title. From what I was seeing and from what I read, that is from right now, that's what they got, where Finn is supposed to beat Dominik for the title. And God, I wish it would have happened before Money in the Bank, because the year that Dominik is having, EVP, do you think that Dominik this year would have been a great Money in the Bank winner for the holder? Do you think that?
I do. I mean, 100%. He gets a lot of hate, but he's improved so much. Like even with his mic skills, the way he performs in the ring, the reaction he draws from the crowd and the audience, 1,000,000%. Like he could have won Money in the Bank. I mean, I can promise you, like we could go through the list of some of the winners, like Carmella, or even on the women's side, or I'm sure there's been some on the men's side as well that are not on Dom's level. I don't feel like. So yeah, I mean, it sucks, but I think they have a set in stone plan for that briefcase this time, and obviously we'll get to that once we talk about Raw and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I would have slapped that briefcase. Otis had the briefcase. Come on, man! Like
exactly. Well, Wade Barrett had it, so there's that.
Yeah.
Cena.
Yeah.
I mean, Brock Lesnar man, you see what we did when Brock Lesnar had it. My God, who's going to forget about that storyline?
I
That was
mean,
a storyline that was just Jesus Christ. So
if they don't put a world title on him before he retires, I'll be really disappointed. And I'm still holding out hope that they do a Dom versus Ray. Maybe that'd be Ray's last match, maybe at WrestleMania or something like that. I think that's the way Dom would want Ray to go out, and I think that's the way Ray would want to go out as well. So, but yeah, he's a champion.
and the thing I noticed when it came to Dominik and this, I think he would have got a moment. I don't know if you remember when Dolph Ziggler cashed in. I think he would have got that, man, because the crowd is behind him now. CJ, the crowd is really behind him now. We'll see where we go next with him. With that, final ball slave. Do you have any final thoughts before we get to our last match about Dominik? Or you said everything you needed to say? Okay, she said no. So our last match of the night, the main event, Mr. 17. You can't see him. We seen Friday that he had got a beer bottle thrown at him. So you guys can comment on that. I'm gonna comment on it. I've never seen nothing like this. Only time I seen this, and me and CJ, we're old men. Only time I seen some trash get thrown was only two companies. Now it was AEW because people throw tissue at Ricochet. But back in the day, where the original thing came from was when Hogan, anytime the NWO came out there, John Cena's out here by himself and getting trash thrown at him. My God! But he retains with the help of R-Truth, and right after R-Truth gets put through a table, AA was very weird because you had Triple H on the and on the press table, and John Cena came up and whispered at him. John had this look like he regretting that he's turning heel. I know people have been giving John a lot of flack for the way he's been doing, but his facial expressions, Final Boss Baby and CJ EVP, for me has been great. I love them because he's been giving his facial expressions have been telling a story. Now this thing with him and R-Truth, it's just gonna be a filler match. I'm pretty sure they're gonna probably do it at Saturday Night Main Event, which they did announce. It's just gonna be a filler match. I know him and R-Truth has had a match before. Matter of fact, him and R-Truth have had partners on the opposite side of each other from one time. Brock and John Cena. This gave us the once in a lifetime match, and R-Truth. This was started the Miz Truth team up and their team. My thing is this: Randy and John, they haven't missed a beat. For John Cena to miss all this time, they haven't missed a beat. They showed the people in the back, this is how you do it. This is how you tell a story. I don't know if you guys seen the clip of Randy Orton's wife shooting a bird at John Cena after the match. That was great storytelling from her. Like I said, we'll see what's going to happen next with Randy. I feel like maybe Randy comes out and help Truth at the end and RKO John Cena again. We'll see where we go with that. I give this match, I'll give it a 5. 5 out of 10. It wasn't too bad. John retains. I don't know when John drops his title. We're coming up on Money in the Bank. I say maybe after Peru, because they got him saying Peru's supposed to be such a big thing for him. I think right after that Peru, this is where he probably drops it for me, guys. I'm gonna go with you, Final Boss Baby, because I know this is your guy, Mr. 17. What's your thoughts on that?
All right, so a lot of information that you said in there, right? So let's go ahead and make sure we say things correctly around here. It's the awesome truth, so not the Miz truth. So make sure we get that right, Mr. Old School Wrestling fan now over there. But yeah, I mean, I knew he was going to retain. You know, he's the unseen 17, the greatest of all time. You know, a lot of people have crapped on Cena's wrestling ability since he came back on this tour. You know, we hear that a lot, and like I said in a space, you know, I think people really have forgotten what John Cena's wrestling style really is. Like, he's been known for the 5 moves of doom forever. Old school Cena had his niggas on, he'll pump them up. You know, we all know his 5-knuckle shuffle, you know, and all that stuff. You know, we know the FU, which became the attitude adjustment, which is now the AA for short. I mean, this is classic Cena. I mean, he's never really had like this big, exaggerated moveset. He's been kind of like mid-ground. He's not a really high flyer. He's not going to really go up to the top rope like that and do some swanton bomb or something or a frog splash. That's not Cena. And I think it's probably because we have so many fast pacers and high flyers around now. We look at Cena as like, oh, you're just so grounded. You're not, you know, you're washed. No, this is how Cena move style really is. And remember, we've only seen Cena do 1 match a year at Mania for the past 5 years. Why he can't just keep doing that and not be retired beats me, right? But you know, for what it was, the match was classic Cena. The only difference is that you're not going to see Super Cena, where he's fighting really hard to win and to try to get the other person, you know, some offense, like when they're beating him down, he thinks he's going to lose, and at the end he comes out on top. You're not going to see that anymore because his gimmick now is heel Cena. So the whole point of him, go to the match and win. So you're going to see the dirty tricks, the low blows, hit him with the title. That's part of it. The style is still the same. It's just Super Cena piece of it is gone. And it's crazy how he's getting all this, I'm going to use the word, backlash about him having this this type of run and having this you know, this style in the ring, where a lot of people didn't like Super Cena. They thought it was kind of played out and annoying. You know, so what do you want? Now, is it the best heel run ever? No. And I love Cena. The heel turn itself probably going to go down in history, but the actual run of it is not the best, unfortunately. But I think you have to give a lot of credit. One, because they're giving us what we wanted to see. Would you rather have Cena just do this retirement tour, him just being just regular Cena? We would have been all mad when he retired. We never got a chance to see it. We won't see it again. It's the same old song and dance. They're giving us what we've been asking for 20 plus years, and that's to see the heel Cena. So checkbox, you know, we're seeing that now. As far as these matches, the matches that they're building, they're showing the story of what we always wanted Cena to go ahead and really do on that list on his way out. It's really like a bucket list is what Cena's retirement run is. You have to look at it that way with those kind of set of eyes. You know, him and Randy Orton, like you said, they're really the last two of their kind. So we had to see them run back again. We see it. We saw it one last time at Backlash. Cena and R-Truth running gag for years. They teamed up before. You had, even when Cena was long and gone, you had R-Truth still mentioning that he was, you know, his hero, his childhood hero. So we're finally going to see what happens where Cena turns on Truth, and this is someone who loved him for forever, right? So is it going to be the best match? Probably absolutely not. Because R-Truth was like, 46? So he's I think it's like, was he 50-something, 40-something? You know, R-Truth is up in age. You know, he's close to Cena's age. So are you going to see the best match ever? No. Is it going to be awful? No, because Truth has been active for many, many years now. Cena is in really, really good shape. So, but the whole point of it is that you're finally going to see this match as part of that checklist on that bucket list of who Cena has to go through. So I give WWE a lot of credit for actually at least closing these chapters and all these unopened stories that Cena has. I thought the match itself, was good. They had that very tease of him having second thoughts. I thought it was genuine because, it's the last match with Randy and they have such a long history. They've been, they're the last two of their kind still around, really. But the fact they kept zooming into him and not pulling the camera back, and he's supposed to be a heel, they kept zooming it in and made it apparent and having a long pause and him patting the towel, things like that. I think that was your glimpse of where they're going with the story now that he's regretting his decision. So you'll see that face turn come, eventually. But then he reminds you, hey, he doesn't need music, he doesn't need anything. He needs competition. So back to having his heel gimmick, he went up on the top rope and held up his title. I like that we got a little mic out of him. By the way, if he was washed off, you wouldn't be able to have that nice little promo when he was done and have some breath left in him. So, hey, he's not washed up, just saying. I mean, could you run a mile and talk afterwards? Probably not, right? You're going to have to sit down for like 5-10 minutes. So I give a lot of credit to that. Randy looked great as always. He had the classic prime drinks spot where he said it was horrible and threw it. So I really like that. I didn't see the Randy Orton wife Kim bird flip until after the fact when I was watching like reports and doing notes and everything. So I did see it, but I saw it way after the moment. But yeah, I loved the match. I thought it was great. It was exactly what we wanted. R-Truth came out there. I swear I thought it was, at first glimpse, I thought it was Dan Travis Scott. Because I saw a dark skinned man come out there with me, and I was like, oh, here we go.
I realized, my God, no.
Because you didn't. It was so quick. So all I see is a skinny. Well, R-Truth, he's big, but he's tall, so he goes past. He looks a little thin. So all I see is a thin black man with dreads. I'm like, oh, here we go, right? Here comes Travis Scott out here. I would never have thought it would have been, R-Truth.
R-Truth, yeah.
He was backstage and had the little sign and Cena, let's go Cena, all that stuff. I didn't think he was going to play a role into the match, right? So I'm thinking, is this Dan Travis Scott? I'm here rolling my eyes. I'm like, oh, it's R-Truth. I like where this is going. So, yeah, I mean, it was good. Definitely giving it a 9 because it's John Cena. He retained. He's an unseen 17, the greatest of all time. You better respect that, even though that's not his line. But I liked it for what it's worth. As far as the press conference, and I'm going to touch on that. I thought we were going on that a little bit later. But because you brought it up, I don't like Cena's heel run in the conferences. It looks so forced. It doesn't come up as natural. He gives me that same vibe that I get with Logan Paul, like where they're great, but the way they deliver it is not well. Like Logan Paul, if you take everything away from him, like all the stuff he says and stuff that he's done, he is great in ring. He's pretty decent on the mic, but the way he delivers the material is bad. The idea should work because it's the whole thing. He's just this cocky guy. I'm an outsider. All that is true. It should be a great gimmick, but his delivery of it is not good. This is the same thing that I'm feeling with Cena when it comes to him heel when he's doing these post shows where it comes off like it's just so forced. And I thought it would be a lot better because we're talking about Cena who's done Hollywood stuff and it's still not like transitioning over really well for me. I liked the table spot that they had during the press conference with Cena, giving AA to R-Truth. I thought that was unexpected. I mean, when have you ever seen that during a post press conference? Like, have you ever seen it really go away like that? I think the only time we really saw it go away was besides Mr. Waffle House himself, The Rock, So he was not happy with that. And besides that, I would say when somebody booed Roman, Roman told her that she has to get up and get out. That was really the only times where we really seen it kind of go away. But remember, that's not with wrestlers, that's with media personnel. We have really seen it go AWOL with the wrestlers. So I do like that idea. I feel like now they're gonna start using these press conferences as like a way to build story, because remember, the last PLE, we had Becky Lynch come out with her daughter and be really, really babyface and say, oh, she wants to come back and help all these women. That's why she did it. And she's like, really into her daughter. She's explaining her daughter's story, about the squirrel came into the house and all this stuff. And then the next day, the next show, Monday, she turned heel, right? So I don't like that too much, because now, when we hear Triple H talk, when we hear other stars talk, now we really know, even though we know they're talking in gimmick, right? Because it's still a WWE product. But now we're going to see, well, we can't take anything they really say as face value, because we would just take what Triple H says, and put it like a little bit of like a spoiler, like a little bit of a news, and we'll go with that. He'll say something and we're like, oh, okay, well, that's real information, that's him talking. Now with them bringing characters into it, now everything they do comes off as like, well, that's just part of script. So I think they continue to do that, they're going to lose a lot of viewers on this post conference, because now it's not a post conference, now it's a post show. So, but again, I like the match. Unseen 17, greatest of all time. He needs to retire with that championship unless The Rock comes take it from him.
Well, I'm gonna comment on that last little thing you said. I like the part where they're using as long as you don't do it as much. It was the same thing they did with the what they was doing the backstage with everyone. Now you don't even notice it. A lot of people not complain about it. You get LA Knight come out from the back. I still love it. Sometimes Jey Uso comes through the crowd. They show Howard Stars off, and then he comes through the crowd. So that was a thing that I think a lot of us was a little worried about. Long as they don't do it too much, if it plays into something where it's going to lead to this next match, which we got, where we're going to get John Cena versus R-Truth, I'm cool with it. Long as it makes sense. Like I said, and Saturday Night Live is not one of these shows where we're going to be like, oh my God, why they
Saturday Night Live? You mean main event? We're going Saturday Night Live now?
What's Saturday Night main event? Saturday Night main event, my bad. Where you got, it's not one of these big shows like Money in the Bank or Bad Blood or nothing like that. So you can do something like this for an angle. I don't mind it, because it comes on TV. They're just trying to probably get people to tune in. I mean, John Cena on TV, it's something. My goodness, I think people are going to just tune in for just that. Let's go to the EBV, CJ. Your thoughts on this, Randy Orton? Did you think that was Travis Scott that came out and kept John Cena?
All I know is Kylie Jenner needs to come get her baby daddy, and just keep him away from the WWE. No, I'm just kidding. But for me, just touching from the beginning, him getting trashed on him. Like, I'm not a Hogan fan. I was growing up, but obviously I'm not now. When Hulk Hogan turned at Bash at the Beach 1996, dropped the leg on Randy Savage, third man, there was so much trash thrown at him. And I even watched Hogan's interview when they were talking about the independent wrestling stuff they're starting. And they asked him, they said, how do you compare, your heel turn compared to Cena's? Well, Hogan had a pack. He had Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. Cena's doing this on his own. For me, I'll say this. I'm not going to compliment Cena too much, but I will say this. He has a lot, and I said this before the match ever happened. I knew it was going to be better than WrestleMania. The Cena Cody match was just absolute trash. They had no chemistry, and that's from Cody too. That's not just Cena. Like, it was terrible. It was a terrible match. Even I don't even care about the Travis Scott ending. The match was just bad. This match was great. You've seen a lot of RKOs. The gash on the right side of Cena's right, like right here on his right of his arm. So, like, yeah, I mean, he went through a table. It was the only thing I guess I would really complain about is I feel like maybe it was a tad bit overbooked. With all the referees getting knocked out, Randy, RKO, and Nick Aldis, which more than likely we're going to see Randy and Nick Aldis at SummerSlam, so you could probably pencil that one in. But this is it for Randy and Cena. Anybody that thinks this is happening again, it's not. That was it. But I mean, it was a great ending to the legacy and the story. Now, R-Truth getting involved, I had a feeling it was going to happen because they kept having these backstage segments with him and Jimmy, a Big Jim, about Cena. I was praying Travis Scott that wasn't showing up, and then I saw he was in a different country selling shoes, so I was like, oh, great, he's not going to be there. But you never know with WWE. They'll fly him in so fast you'd make your head spin. The match was good. The match was good. A lot better than Cena Cody. A lot of people are not going to want to hear this, especially people in the chat. But this story is 1,000,000% circling back around to Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is going to be the one to take the title off of John Cena. It's not going to be Roman Reigns. It's not going to be CM Punk. But I'm kind of conflicted because, like Final Boss Baby said, like at the end, you can tell that the cracks are starting to show. That doubt of, did I make the right move? Even the little Undertaker type thing he did when he walked out with the belt, how he was apologizing to the press. Shout out to the one Mona. She said it on a show with us about R-Truth interference. She was actually the one that asked the question right before R-Truth got hit with an AA. So shout out to her for that. She was ecstatic. She's a huge Cody Rhodes fan though. I mean, it's a filler match. Like Final Boss Baby said, like, we know R-Truth's not beating him, but Money in the Bank. Cody Rhodes is on his way back. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him Friday. I've been hearing a lot of like rumblings of Cody Rhodes and Joe Hendry against John Cena and Travis Scott at Money in the Bank. You heard it here first. All these other reporters are starting to throw it out there too. I said it yesterday before, Wrestle Votes and all the rest of them put it out. I think that's where we're headed. Joe Hendry keeps talking about it a lot. I think Cena, so I'm conflicted here. A lot of people, even people that I talk to, inside, tell me, we're going to get Cena Cody at SummerSlam, which is a 2-night event. Like, we need a big match. But do we do it there, or do we do it at the end of the year, when they have the event in Boston, in Cena's hometown? Cena's not finishing his retirement tour as a face. I mean, as a heel. It's not happening. He is 100% going face. But I think a lot of people's problem is they feel like when Cody Rhodes wins his title back, that he needs to be a heel. And I don't agree with that. I think that Cody, when Cody beats him, that's when we're going to see John just completely. You remember the match? I can't remember who it was. It might have been Hogan Rock or Hogan Warrior or something like that. Like, they shook hands and, like, they didn't like each other before the match. But maybe Cody's the one that can ultimately get Cena back over to that face side, because he's going to be the one that has to save WWE from John Cena running away with this title. Cena's great on the mic. I hate to say it, best of all times. He's won 17 titles. Like I said, the only complaints I have is I feel the match was overbooked. I think they could have done a little bit less. And then the R-Truth stuff, like I get it, he's a big Cena fan, but come on, nobody's giving Truth a chance to win. It's happening at Saturday Night's main event. I'm looking forward, honestly, the most to seeing John Cena against CM Punk, and I think that's got to happen before Cody Rhodes takes the belt off of him. I'm hoping that it happens at Money in the Bank, because John's advertised at the show. But, they could throw a swerve and have somebody that's connected to John Cena actually win that briefcase to keep somebody from cashing in on him, like a Drew McIntyre or somebody like that. Like, we don't really know what if The Rock still has involvement, if they're going to go that route. Like, he could have Drew win the Money in the Bank and say, all right, well, Drew's not cashing in on Cena, so, how's he going to lose the title? Like, it'll be a protection type thing. But ultimately, I think this story circled back around to Cody Rhodes. I just don't know if it's going to happen at SummerSlam or at the end of the year, but we're going to see Cody Rhodes take the title off Cena. But great match. Honestly, I give it an 8. I think it was great.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Let's go to Raw. We're going to go to CM Punk's promo. I know you was a big fan of this Final Balls, baby, where you wanted to comment about CM Punk's promo. I'm going to give my takes, and then I'll let you go first, and then I'm going to go to CJ. My thing is this. I was wondering when we got to this promo. I'm glad that Punk went back to Paul Heyman and about the stuff that happened at WrestleMania. My thing is this: is Punk doing this alone without Roman? It seems like they're teaming him, Sammy, and Jay up to maybe and it seems like we're going to probably get a third man. I've been seeing a lot of stuff on X where they're saying that Sammy could be the one to turn on someone. I don't know if you guys seen where they had the same shield kind of stance where somebody was like Sammy could be the Seth Rollins of this is a plan B. I don't think it's Sammy, guys. It's not time for Sammy to turn just yet. It's someone else we're not thinking about. It's someone else, maybe from NXT, maybe someone we haven't seen in quite some time. I'm with you on the Punk versus John Cena at Money in the Bank because there's history. Remember, John is saying the same promo that Punk was saying. I'm going to leave with the championship once my contract is over. Once I'm done with retiring. Remember, that's when Punk did the famous kiss and went to the crowd, and we thought he was gone. We thought Punk was gone. We didn't see Punk no more. We thought we wasn't never going to see Punk again, and we know what happened. Cena took on Rey Mysterio, won the title, and Punk new music, personality hit, and that's how we got the second match between those two guys. I feel like Punk and Cena have great chemistry too in the ring. Hell, we seen that at Elimination Chamber. Punk, I'm just trying to see how do we get back to Seth and Braun Breaker when it comes to Punk and Roman Reigns. But I did like the promo when it came down to it. I'm going to go to you first, CJ EVP. What's your thoughts on the promo when it comes to Punk and what you feel like the future for Punk will be?
The CM Punk promo was amazing. I love CM Punk on the mic, especially when he called Paul Heyman a penguin. That I literally almost fell out of my bed. It was hilarious. So for me, it's official. Saturday night's main event: CM Punk, Sami Zayn against Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker. I will respectfully disagree. Seth and Breaker, they're not going to beat up the whole company by themselves. They need help. And, you know, they teased the Sammy turn the night he came out to celebrate with Jay. They didn't do it that night, but I got an eerie feeling that Sami Zayn is going to turn on CM Punk and become the third man at Saturday night's main event, and help and obviously aid in the win for Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. As far as Roman Reigns goes, when he gets back, that's why I'm so conflicted on what they're doing. Triple H has me so confused right now because, you know, I was told a while back that Roman wasn't coming back till SummerSlam. Now I'm hearing it's, you know, he's going to be back to build Money in the Bank. I thought SummerSlam probably made the most sense because then they could probably build a Rollins Reigns match at SummerSlam or a Breaker Reigns, something like that. But if he's coming back at Money in the Bank, are they going to do Roman Punk against Rollins and Breaker? But if they do that, you're taking Punk Cena away, and you're taking Roman, Punk, Breaker, or Rollins out of the Money in the Bank match. So, like, it's a big, huge mess. I do think Sami Zayn is going to turn. I know it needs to be a younger guy, but, you know, I had my eyes on maybe like Austin Theory, Ricky Saint, Trick Williams. You know, Drew McIntyre could also be an option. But I think Sammy's always wanted that world title, and that's why it's so hard for me to imagine that he's going to turn. But all signs point to that turn for me. But Roman definitely coming back, and he's going to be involved in that storyline. I know everybody's clamoring for Roman Cena again, but I don't think it's happening. I would be really shocked. I think Roman's going to be tied up with this Seth faction for a while. And then when we talk about Jay, like, I'll obviously go into my thoughts on that. Like, Roman's got family business to take care of with what Heyman did to him. I don't think he's worried about a title. And, you know, I love Roman. I have a Roman shirt on right now, the new one. But, like, they're just not going to put the title back on him. Like, why would they? Like, he said it in Vanity Fair, like, he's going to be in a less physical schedule. I think he's going to do big matches. He'll do the big 4 PLEs, but that's going to be about it after WrestleMania. Like, everybody just needs to enjoy what we saw from the 1,300 days. But I don't see them putting the title back on him because I don't think he's going to be around enough. They need somebody that, because I think Braun and Jacob's going to win a world title in the next year. So I think that Raw title is going to be like a pancake. It's going to be just constantly flipping. Like, I don't think anybody's going to have a long reign with that. But yeah, Roman's going to have to swallow that pride up and team with Punk. But I do think Sammy's turning.
Yeah, I didn't think about the Saturday night main event where Sammy's turning. I know this team got really compared to Evolution 2.0. I think if you had Sammy in there, I think that comparison is going to stop really quick. I was thinking of NXT star, not Ricky Saints, but I can't think of the guy's name right now. He came from AEW too.
Talking about the guy that's dating Stephanie Varcour.
No, not the one that was backstage with The Rock. And remember they did the angle with the Ava.
Ethan Page, yeah.
Ethan Page. I was thinking that Ethan was going to be the one to join this team. CJ and Final Balls, because if Ethan joined it, that was already going to be like, oh, well, The Rock has some kind of new hand in this, because you got already Paul Heyman, now you got a second guy there. I was thinking it was Ethan that was going to join, but if they go with Sammy, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to like it too much. We're gonna get Final Boss Baby's thoughts about this CM Punk promo, but I think Ethan will be the next guy they probably will join. If not Ethan, you might be right. That Saturday we might. I think everyone's gonna see that coming, but we know how Triple H is CJ. When it comes, we said in the space when we say something, he'll go a whole different direction. Then we get something else. Final Boss Baby, what's your thoughts on this CM promo? I know you had a lot of thoughts about it. I seen your camera out, so I wanted to come to you once your camera came on. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I thought it was easily the best segment of the night, right? Long segment, but there was a lot of good pieces in there. We finally got the answer or the response back from Punk after that fiery promo that Paul Heyman cut. As you see that Punk is still calling Paul the wise man, so that's still there. That's still a thing. So we still have that, and I think that's done by design. It's just remember, even though he was with Rollins, is that he's still a wise man. So I like that. Is there future storytelling to that? Maybe he'll do a double turn and come back to Roman. I don't know, because he still has a wise man. So there's different pieces in there that I really, really loved. I loved when Seth Rollins came out and you have CM Punk making it look a little bit more unhinged. He's saying all you are is just a song kid. It gave it a more realistic look to the promo. So I really love that as well. We got CM Punk threatening Paul Heyman, saying he's gonna squeeze his neck. So we know Paul Heyman, he's 60, so he's not gonna get too physical, but he'll take a bump. He did it before with Solo, so he'll damn sure do it again, right? So we might have that come in the future where you have Paul taking out a bump. But here's the piece, though, is that we had whispers, and then we saw what happened to Jay later on that night. But remember, before all of that happened in the segment, we had Punk say that Jay warned him about Paul Heyman and that he should have listened. What if the third person is not really Sami Zayn, who I'm not a fan of, by the way. But what if the third person is actually Jay?
Wow.
What if Jay turns on Punk the same way Paul Heyman did?
If that happens, that could be another way you can have the Rock hand behind this thing too, because that's his family. You can play into that where, like I say,
to be. Well, we on the Rock not coming no more. Y'all don't ruin that. So let's get that straight. You have pissed off.
Well, I don't know, because on Raw, so, I seen a picture, and I don't know if you and CJ caught it. I seen a picture of Peter Marvin, and I was like, well, what are we doing here? So
at Adam, but the thing is,
look, WWE throws out clues everywhere. I don't try to miss nothing, because these days they've been doing it in pictures, music, sound, whatever they can do to sneak something in. You can't get nothing. You sometimes got to catch it and just write it down just for later.
Nope.
Well, you should know. I mean, this is your husband, so
they used to do that. They don't do that anymore. They're doing it for people like nope. They put the little AJ Lee stuff in there. Nothing came of it. They put stuff on the truck. Nothing ever came of it. Nope.
Well,
they're not doing that.
I know. CJ EVP. I know you didn't catch that, and I know we talked about it last week. I talked about it with Final Boss Baby before we got the Backlash. Lee. John Cena walked out. You had the two trucks. You had one side that had Triple H, and the other side the Wyatts. And I know Final Boss Baby was like, "Let's keep the Wyatts."
And we still haven't seen the Wyatts. So there we go again. Nope.
So do you think that WWE is still doing that?
No.
Caesar, we just done with that.
They just doing
I
that
don't know.
to troll fans like you old school fans.
No, I think I think the French fries are in the bag on that one. I think we're done.
Yeah, I think it's designed there to create that
Yeah.
buzz, to have fans like you who remember when they would do that, and then you go
Right,
online and then you kind of
right.
have those ideas, and you're doing all this fantasy booking.
Dang, you ain't calling me old, huh? I see how it is.
Well,
hell, I'm old.
I'm only
I'm a
well, they were doing that up until just a couple years ago. So they just recently stopped doing that. They were doing that forever, but I feel like now they're just kind of doing that for the IWC.
I do have one comment though on the Jay thing. I mean, it's very possible. Like I'm not ruling it out. The only thing I would say, and I would say I probably won't be able to get to it. Obviously, you guys know I have a show at 6, but I wanted to get this out before. Like, I'm really concerned on what they're doing with Jay, because they've already booked him in a match against Gunther at the day after Money in the Bank. That really throws a big red flag up to me. Why? Same thing they're doing with Rhea and Io. Like, they're doing Rhea's doing this with Io. Like, I want the belt, and she's like, "Oh, I understand, and I'll give it to you." And so we're going backwards again. Triple H, Paul Levesque. Like, I know he listens, so we're going backwards again. Why are we doing Gunther and Jay again? And does that mean that? Oh my God! Please no. They're not putting the title back on Gunther. Please don't do that. But could we see? This is just my take. Braun Breaker or Seth Rollins win Money in the Bank and cash in on Jay after the match with Gunther, because he's gonna be tired, beat up. Why would they schedule a world title match the day after Money in the Bank? Everybody needs to take that in consideration. Either if it wasn't for that, I would say maybe Jay does go heel, but I'm worried. I think Jay gets cashed in on the day after Money in the Bank. I really do.
Yeah, I feel like Jay Uso's booking. I like it, guys. You got him facing Logan. You got Braun Breaker coming after attacking him. Seth. Now you have Gunther. This was one thing we complained about when it came to Cody. Cody was begging people to come out there and ask for matches. Jay has no problem. I mean, even Sammy has thrown out teasers where you got him saying that he wanted to take on him for the title. So there's been a lot of times where you have had that whole thing. So I just don't know where we go with this when it comes to Jay. I'm with you, CJ. God, put this title back on Gunther. Why are we doing this match again? When he came out there, I was like, and that's what I was saying earlier. I was like, maybe they don't know what's going on with Goldberg, and they had to go this angle. I thought we was going to rebuild Gunther. I'm not going to lie with you, CJ. This might be the first time I say Gunther still won't win this match, and I don't know what we get out of this. I guess we're doing this at Money in the Bank. I mean, no, we're doing this at Monday Night Raw. Do we get an angle from Seth where he causes Gunther? Maybe Gunther teams up with Jay. I don't know. I have to see where we go with this. So we'll see where we go. Final boss, baby, I seen your camera go off. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. We kind of went away from me. I know TJ is on limited time because he has like 30 minutes. But yeah, I think maybe that next person to join Seth's group is going to be Jay. I just find it weird that you have Punk mention that he should listen to Jay. So now there's like a trust thing. And then, he's giving orders. You have Seth giving orders to Braun, to take him out. I think that's by design. I think it's just a way to, to fool Punk. Which this would be good for Dre because you have to think about it. Okay, Jay won the title, so what happens now? What's going to be really his fee? What's going to be his place? What's going to be his place after he loses that title, right? So I think this is a good spot for him to go ahead and be. I think this will be another way to help him push forward because, like we all said, we wasn't really too stoked about the Jay and Gunther match for WrestleMania. And because the bill was bad and we just didn't see it and we felt like, Jay should have gotten that push a long time ago. We felt that Jay should have held the IC title a lot longer than what he did. So they fumbled on him. But I feel like them putting him into a group that is away from the bloodline, that gives him time to shine on his own. Because I feel like, he'll be overshadowed by the other members. Because now look at where we are. Yeah, we had the top guy, Roman. We had Jacob. We had Solo. Those three guys, would have overshadowed Jay on his own. Now the Usos together, a little bit different, but him and his own, it would have overshadowed him in that kind of story. Now you have a whole new player. You have Cobb coming in there. So I feel like it'll be too many people, too much overshadowing, and you have to focus that on the newer to company guys, like Jacob, like Cobb. So I feel like them putting Jay into, this faction where it's just, just Braun and Seth is already developed. And Paul Heyman is just more of that manager figure guy, so he's not going to be pushing for titles and matches. I feel like it'll be a good spot for him to go ahead and be, so that he'll have that momentum behind him when that group breaks apart to be that top singles guy, as we know he's always can be. The only thing is that what happens to Jimmy, I think it's a street profit situation where you're going to have one that may fall behind because of that. Unless maybe they'll add Jimmy. Maybe this will be, the newest group. You have the Usos, you have Seth being that leader, you have Paul Heyman there, until they pretty much till he turns again, I guess, or someone turns on him, and then you have Braun there. I think it'll be great. This could be your evolution, your legacy. Remember Orton had a group called Legacy. So I feel like this would be a real good move. But I'm excited. This is a brand new group. We had no idea this is where they were going to go with this, and look at where we are. So even though WWE has its up and downs, I think something like this, if they can capitalize on it, it's going to be very exciting, and they can go in so many directions and keep us guessing. And they have you thinking Rock's going to come back because you saw a picture of Rock's dad in the office with Adam Pearce, and that's not happening. But look at what they're doing. They're grabbing our attention. We don't know what's going on. We have so many different stories now we can play a role into. It's good booking. It has our minds wondering. Now, WWE probably going to crap all over everything, but it keeps the wheels turning. That's why we have shows like this. It gives us this content. So yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah, you got any thoughts about Jay's booking, or you good on that? Do you like the way he's been being booked so far?
Well, remember he's just got the title, so we gotta give time for that to kind of expand itself, right? Jay wasn't really tied up in too many good feuds. But even before he won the title, he was just going back with Gunther, right? And then before that, he had some bloodline stuff. So, he doesn't really have a place to really fit in. So I think they have to kind of find that spot. Similar to like what happened with Cody. His whole lead up to the match was decent. It was a whole finish the story, and then he finished the story, and then he didn't really have anything to do. He was, kind of poking around in the bloodline and kind of going around. So I think, with Jay, same thing, give it time, except for this time they have a direction for Jay. Clearly he's involved with this group somehow, some way, whether it be what I hope it will be was where have Jay go ahead and join them, or whether it be, where he's going against them and it's him and Punk. And it's what CJ said, you have Sammy turn and Sammy goes with Seth, and then you have Jay and Punk and maybe another person, or maybe, a couple of people. So there's different things they can go ahead and do So with that being said, as far as Jay's booking, I think it's just getting started. I think we're in for a ride. We just saw it Monday. He was beaten down, and we don't know what side he's really on, for sure. So I think this is going to be very great for Jay. I think it's probably going to be the highlight of his career, really. This is probably going to be the best use of Jay since he had that match against Roman and when he became main event Jay.
Yeah, that's true. I know CJ, you better get ready to head out, man. We got a couple more topics we're gonna hit, man. Thanks for coming to talk it up, man. I know you're gonna probably come on my show, break it down. Like I said, I do sports, break down sports and music, and we'll watch a match together. Hope to see you here on here again. Tell the people here on YouTube and on X where they can catch you at on your shows and other things that you got going on.
Yeah, special shout out to you guys. Y'all killing it. Thanks for having me. I love being on here. Hopefully I can come back when I'm not like having to go run and do the EVP Zero show. But you can find me on X. Obviously I'm not gonna spell out my all those numbers, but if you know me, you know me. If you don't, then too bad, I guess. I'm not add Charlie and you might find me. But you can find me obviously main event team. Main event Mondays, I pretty much host. I co-host sometimes. Main event Fridays. On Thursdays, every Thursday, 6 p.m., EVP Zero show. But coming soon, you will see me with the EVP show. I'm just working on some logistics, trying to find somebody for graphics, editing. I'm about 10 or 11 subs away from 100 without a video, which is pretty decent. I feel like just from bugging the hell out of people on X. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Hopefully Load will come back. And when I get my show going, definitely you guys will be the first ones to come on because you guys will help me a lot with trying to get it promoted and all that. So thank you guys.
Yeah, no problem, CJ. Thanks for coming, man. Like I said, we hope to get you again, man. We hope you wish to stay. Maybe next time you'll get to stay a little bit longer.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
I said, we got a couple more topics, man. So shouts out to you and shouts out to everyone and all the things that you do, man. I know you about to get ready to run and do another YouTube here in a few. So I
Mm-hmm.
understand where that comes from, man. But we'll catch you later, man. We'll see you soon, man.
All right, man. Thank you guys.
All right. That was EVP. Let's get to this next topic, final boss. I know you wanted to talk about this Becky Lynch promo that she had on Monday Night Raw. What was your thoughts about it? And I'm gonna give my thoughts about it because I know you had quite a few thoughts about this promo.
Yeah, and then after we talk about the Becky Lynch promo, we're gonna talk about Dom confronting Finn. I want to kind of go through that. We'll talk about we got to see Pat back from that crazy match he had with Gunther. So we'll hit that, and then we'll talk about some things on the sidelines that we saw in headlines. But as far as the Becky Lynch promo, so a lot of pieces to that, right? So obviously, I feel like I'm gonna go ahead and put this up for Kyle because we have Kyle in here who loves Becky Lynch. So let's go ahead and put up his comment. We're gonna put it up the whole time, right? But we know that the reasoning behind this promo, which we can assume, we can speculate, is because of the stuff that has came out about her return. They're calling her, Becky Hogan, which nothing to do with Hulk Hogan. We'll talk about that a little bit later, actually. But it's more about, her not getting people over and her coming in and just going for the title. So I felt like this promo was a way to kind of respond to that backlash, no pun intended. So I think it's the fans, right? And she talked about that. She said that, the fans were behind her. And then when she won world championships, they pretty much turned on her. And that's exactly what it was when she was called the Becky Hogan. That's what it was. It was fans getting mad at her because she was back into the title picture. That's WWE addressing it. I also felt like the delivery of it was supposed to be more of the man, right? There's little things in there. I think one of the things that you missed is that she sat on the top rope like CM Punk. So she's doing all the things that a man can do. Then she jumped down and she gave this promo that's very similar to Cena, is against the fans. And initially I was just like, wow, they're just copy and pasting, Cena's promo and style and giving it to Becky, which, for what it was, and I'm gonna agree with Kyle with the other comment that he said it was one of the best promos that she's had in a long time. I think her delivery of it was actually pretty good. Delivery of it was pretty solid. I just didn't like the timing of it. Not so much the material, but the timing and the fact that you have Cena, whole heel turn was because of the fans, and now you have Becky blaming the fans. But I get it because she's getting that backlash for her coming back into the title picture. So I get why they did that. I think they could have went about it a different way though. They could have had a piece in there to address that and not make it the whole catalyst of why she's heel now. Because we thought the original reason why she was heel was because you had Lyra team up with Bayley. So what happened to that? Maybe plans changed to Bayley. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. We don't know. But I liked it. I thought it was grungy. It went on a bit long, which now a lot of the main event promos really do. Just like the CM Punk's segment went over 13 minutes long, right? There was a lot of storytelling in there. She just said, hey, the fans turned on me. I am whatever you say I am. Then you had Pat McAfee go ahead and reference, Eminem, because that I guess it reminds him of the Eminem song. So the promo itself, to me, I thought delivery was great. I just thought it was just bad timing because you have a Cena really going with the same thing. Unless their whole stick is where, you have Becky, who's still the man character, but now just more heel. It's just I can do whatever the man do. I can go ahead and have the same hatred towards the fans just like the GOAT John Cena does. Or I can go ahead, I can sit on top of this ring just like CM Punk does. I can do the same, anything they can do, I can do it better. Right? So I kind of like that idea. I like the one she even had a previous week when she, said she was taking out the garbage. I thought that was great. I thought the fact that I can still remember it, that stuck with me, tells you that it was great. So, I mean, I think for Becky, this is what she needed. I just feel like it's either, hey, if you are going to keep the man gimmick, either ramp it up like how I guess they did on Monday, or get rid of it and change it, because she's had that gimmick since Nia Jax gave her a punch in the face, and it's been years now, right? But for what it's worth, I like the gimmick. I do agree. Well, I agree initially with Kyle where Becky should have won. She should have won at Backlash. But based on what happened on Monday, now I see why she didn't lose, because now we have this crash out Becky. She doesn't owe us anything. So, and it's John Cena all over again. Now, crazy, if she wins the title and she wants to ruin wrestling like Cena, that would be absolutely insane. But I just think they shouldn't do it now because it's a Cena last run. I don't think that's fair to him. I think he should have his own stick and she should have her own stick and just be great at it. But, I really hope at the end of the day that they're going to do something with her and Becky. Her and Bayley. Because why mention it? I feel like what happened on Monday, they kind of dropped the idea of it being because of Bayley. It's just more about the fans. So I got to see what happens next week. I got to see where they're going with it. If she comes out there again on Monday and says she's gonna ruin wrestling and that she's the man and it's similar to John Cena's promo, I won't be excited with it. It'd probably be a great delivery of the promo. Just the material itself timing of it wouldn't be the best. But if she comes out there and says this and says that, she's going to attack the women's division, and if she goes ahead and says that Lyra, they listen to her, and if she goes ahead and says, hey, I'm going to get Bayley back because I should have been, the real, woman of the 4 horsewomen, which Bayley and Becky were both part of, with Ronda, and Sasha. I feel like, they could have, done some more building with this, and fine. If they don't, then it's lackluster. But, honestly, I'm not the biggest Becky fan. I mean, I don't dislike her, but I don't love her. But I feel like this is what the women's division needed. They needed a shakeup on Raw, especially now. It could have been more of a perfect timing because you have, Liv that is off shooting a movie, so they're really missing that secondary star. Besides, you have, Rhea there, and you have Io's champion, but they're really missing that key person. And now that Becky's here, you got Liv off. I think it kind of fills that void. Because I feel like if Becky wasn't there and with the booking, people would have said, where's Liv? And I feel like, with all Becky's great work, that it's taken over that for right now. So I think it's great timing as far as when she came back, ironically. But I kind of want to see where it goes. Is she just going to be like Cena and just be this super heel and on a solo run by herself and take down the women's division, or is she gonna, build up some old feuds and kind of build through that? Or is she gonna join someone and build through that? I mean, as we saw, Roxanne and Gilia, they broke up. So, I mean, do we, where can Becky really fit a role into? So I'm excited. But I definitely want to get your takes on it and what you took from the promo itself. And if you have the same correlations that I do.
Yes. My thoughts was, when I was watching the promo, I immediately texted Greg and said the same thing you said. This reminded me so much of John Cena. So much of a John Cena as promo. But as time went on and I started to think about it, I said, hold up. Remember, we wanted Becky to join Seth Rollins' team. Wonder if she's joining with John Cena. And remember, we wanted her to join with Seth. She could be the person. Remember, Rob did the 1, 2, 3. We keep thinking it's a guy. Remember, Becky does the little rock bottom type of move. She just did a line with John Cena. Her and John Cena have actually had something a while back where she did the "You Can't See Me" a while back on SmackDown. And like I said, she might, she has this man gimmick, and everyone thinking it's a man, and it could be her saying, "Hey, I thought it was a guy. It's me. The next man. It could be her." I'm just throwing that out there in the atmosphere because we never know. I don't think we're done with Batman Funnables, baby. I think we're going to get back to it somewhere here down the line. I do agree with Cal. I've seen his comments where he was like, Becky should have won. I do agree with him on that. I feel like Becky should have won that match. Where does Becky go from here? That's my question. Now it has me thinking. And I can say the only reason why I think it didn't go that way is because of what the comments of what the IWC and people were saying about her when it came to her being Becky Hogan. She didn't like the way that was said because we know the history of Hogan. We'll get into that here in a few. We'll segue into that next after we get done with this. But I feel like some kind of way we got to get back to Bayley and Becky. How do we get there from here? I don't know. I did not like the breaking up of Roxanne and Gideon. It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense as booking wise because they was just a brand new team. They supposed to be the future, and you broke them up already. From what I'm hearing, they supposed to be doing some matches with her, EO, Kyrie Sane, and Asuka when she comes back. So I see them doing something with that. I just didn't like. I felt like Roxanne and her was just such a great pairing. Maybe Roxanne joins Becky. I mean, someone is supposed to have a female group starting real soon. Is it Becky? I don't know. Um, like I say, let's keep an eye out on this. This could have been another, like I say, maybe I read into stuff a little too much. Or this could have been another clue, but this was too much John Cena esque for me. And now you got John, wondering and not knowing what he's going to do. One if Becky leads him back to that dark side. Because John is now, The Rock is not there. Like you say, The Rock is not coming. Wonder if The Rock and Becky's there, hey, keep him back on the path of being, back. Because he's the mob boss. Like I say, that was the whole thing I pitched to you space before we started doing YouTube that you can still have Rock as the mob boss and he's sending Becky. Becky to be the lead John Cena back to that dark side because John Cena is having doubts. He's having just like he doesn't know what he wants to do with that. So I think you could do that with him. Shouts out to everyone on Instagram who's waving at me right now. They're seeing my dog in the back and they're just going crazy. Shouts out to everyone on YouTube and X and on all the platforms we're streaming for. Thanks, shouts out to all of y'all. We have some special guests in the YouTube. On Instagram here. I see. So shouts out to everyone out on Instagram that's tuning in to me and Final Boss Babies. Talk it up. So shouts out to y'all guys. But that's just my thoughts before we get to our next comments on Final Boss. What you think about that? And we'll move on to our next topic.
Yeah, so if they have Becky Lynch play some role into The Rock, that's absolutely wild. Absolutely freaking wild. That would blow the roof off everything. But at the same time, you know how I feel about when they incorporate women into men groups. I feel like it just doesn't work.
Yeah, you said that once before.
The only reason why this one be a little bit of an exception is because, with the Cena gimmick and her gimmick being so close together, maybe. But I don't think The Rock gonna come back. I'll be honest.
Well, see, that's what, that's why I said, well, even if he doesn't come back, because like I say, John Cena's having doubts, and this promo right after we seen the doubts, we get this promo Final Boss Baby, and I'm like, and the more days that went by, I'm like, maybe.
Is it connected, or is it more because she got all the Becky Hogan comparisons? I mean, so
is this run? Are we considering it? And a lot of people are considering this run from John Cena a Hogan-esque type of run. Do you think that it was just a coincidence that she cut that like that?
I mean, I think it just was WWE response back to the backlash she's getting about her coming back and wanting to be in the title picture. I think that's what it was, but I felt like they could have just had that line in there and then do something else with the rest of the promo. But I mean, and then, like I said, if that happens, that's wild, absolutely freaking wild if that happens. But the women's division itself, I mean, what is she really gonna do with that? Because she is a star. She's not an up and comer where she needs to, be under Cena or be under someone like The Rock, like Breaker is for Seth because he needs that right now. She doesn't
Mhm.
need that. So why would they have her do it? And that women's division, I mean, what are you really gonna do with that? I mean, you're gonna have her go against Io, maybe against Jade, maybe against Bianca whenever she's healed up. But I mean, is what really is she gonna do with that? They don't have a whole bunch of people for her to go, crazy with besides, your regular key players. And then we have tag team titles. So at least 4 of those people are gonna be tied up in tag team stuff. So I mean, that's the problem with, bringing on a woman with a group like that, is that it's not gonna be as deep of a storyline. Like the reason why Roman and Bloodline worked, and you had and now we have this whole twisty thing with, Punk and Paul, is because of history together. With the women's a little bit different. So, I mean, yeah, there's history, with Bailey, and of course, like we know, like Lyra and things like that. But it's like it's not as deep as it is for the men. You can't really go down that rabbit hole on the women's side. Like you can have those feuds, those matches, but you'll have to move on shortly after. And I feel like, the biggest story that we had, was the Naomi story. But they pushed, Bianca away from that. Now we have Bianca is hurt. So now we really, really won't get that now for a while. They might be done with that whole story by the time Bianca even comes back. And then Becky, she had a story. Her story was, or could have been first, with Liv, because Liv put her out. But they flipped that and said that she left because of the fans. She was gone for like almost a year, where they could have really used that to build up to her and Liv feuds. By the time Liv comes back, we have those seeds. Because, that last match we saw, it was, a steel cage match. Liv won the title. Becky Lynch walked out. There was a little image of her walking backstage saying "to be continued." So, I mean, what happened to that? That's gone. So, I mean, these are all the pieces that we're missing. And I mean, her being a part of a man feud, and then, I mean, a man stable, and then they're not capitalizing on, some history that we do have, it's just not going to work. But if they do that, that is wild. That's going to be the hugest thing that we have seen in forever. So,
Well, you and I know you can't see the comments on my IG. Francis was saying that would be wild too. He was saying that if you book this the correct way, if you Becky joining and you book it right, because he said if Hip Row was booked the correct way,
hold on,
that they
Miami.
maybe could have made.
Hold on, Miami. Now, I'm going to be just for a second. Just because I know you're over there playing Everybody Hates Chris, and you're playing with the fan, and you're talking to the fan right now. Turn down the AC, turn down the fan.
Look, I got it. Yeah, my bad. Can you hear me now? My bad. I turned it down. My bad. But no, he was saying with that if you book this right, if you book it correctly, um if you book it if you book this stable correctly, he said the impact of just Becky joining will be amazing because she's already a star, just like John Cena. You got her coming in, you got the crowd. He said it will have that what's next factor to it. Like, where are we going here? What we going next here? And he said, according to him, he said when it comes to when you're booking things, that's what you want when it comes to the crowd. You want to have that, man, what's going on? What are we doing? He said if you book it to the correct way, long as they book it right, do you feel like her joining that? Well, it wouldn't be a group yet. It would be just her and John so far. If you book it correctly, do you feel like it will get over?
I mean, yeah, because it's not what we expect. When would you expect Cena to have a stable or be part of a stable, with someone as big as Becky. I think that shock factor, and now that she has this edgier, but well, she's been really that tweener role since she became the man, right? The edgier person, but now she's like full blown, bad girl heel. Maybe because it's more grungier. That's like more like a dark place where she's going with those promos. So I think that shock factor and the star power will be really good. I don't know how long Becky's going to be on her run, but I think if she plans to stay for at least a couple of years, the momentum off that, even when Cena leaves us in December, she'll still have that. It can kind of do something with that. As far as just building up her story. She's already big as a star, but building up her actual story would be interesting. Just me thinking about it, it's mind-boggling to me. Like, I'm still, like, me hearing it didn't happen, and I'm just blown by
exactly.
it.
And
I'm
that's what,
absolutely blown by it.
and
So
that's what he was saying too. He was just like, that would probably blow the, if you do it at think about someone doing it at a Money in the Bank or one of their SummerSlams. It's 2 nights. We're just saying one of their, big PLEs. We'll leave the small ones. We'll throw breadcrumbs out, but you hit them at one of these Money in the Bank or SummerSlam final balls.
but the
My
only
God.
thing that's gonna ruin that is time. Because we already know Cena's last match is in his hometown, and it's in December, and it's not even in December. It's middle December, December 13th to be exact. And if they want to go ahead and turn him back face, and we've seen pieces of that at Backlash, how can that now work? Where you have Becky being this heel now. How can he turn back to being a baby face now, unless he just turns on the group, which they could do.
Yeah. Usually, usually that's the format. Somebody's going to probably either they turn on him or he turns on them. That's basically booking 1-on-1 when it comes to WWE.
I mean, if they're gonna do that, they need to start putting them season now, because those months are gonna fly. Like, once we hit past SummerSlam, which is August, it's gonna fly by, because he's leaving in December. He's leaving before January, so it's gonna really start flying by. I mean, what happens after August? You have September, and then how many months you have left? Like 3-4 months. So, I mean, how can we make this all fit into this window? And I feel like we could have did a lot more, if we would have had him constantly on, and we had this bill. And this was the piece I forgot to mention when we talked about Cena, is that, he's there, his matches are still great, and he's fighting every PLE like he said he would do. He's still doing that. He's even going to fight on Saturday Night Main Event, which is kind of like a special show, not a PLE, but that piece in the middle. It's a specialized TV show, right? He's even going to fight there. Because hell, why not? It's probably like his last time him doing that. So the problem is that when he does come back in between PLEs, he's only building up the feuds to the PLE. He's not building in anything in between that. It's like, oh, I'm here to cut a promo on the opponent for the PLE. There's nothing in between that. Like, it should be, hey, I'm building up for his opponent at this match at the PLE, and then I'm also building up my story. His whole thing is just, this is my gimmick, and I'm gonna fight this person at the PLE because of the time. He's not there every single week. He's there, at least to build up the match of the PLE, but he's just there for that. And I feel like if we would have got this ball rolling months ago, back when we first got the announcement, if he was available, I know he was shooting a movie like in Africa, I believe. If we had that time, we could have done something like this with Becky, or something mind-boggling similar like this. But now we are just stressed on time. Like, how is he gonna do that and then turn face and then have the whole thing with Cody and then have the thing really with Punk? I mean, the bills, we don't have the time. Like, if we're gonna do it, we can do it, but we'll have to start having him come every week or every other week and start really building this up, because we're gonna run out of time, and Cena's gonna go in December. We're gonna be sitting here on this live, and you're gonna hear us start fantasy booking about what matches he could have done. That's what we're gonna be like. Let's just be honest. And it every time I hear SummerSlam, I shed a tear, because SummerSlam is usually around the end of August. Was it August? Was it the 20th? Around the 20 something of August is when SummerSlam is for 2 nights. Was it 21st and 22nd, I believe?
Hold on, let me check. I think they did, because they usually switch them up. SummerSlam, yeah, it's still in August. We got August the 2nd and August the 3rd.
Okay, so it's the beginning of August.
Yes, August the
August. So that gives us a little bit of time now. Because they towards the end of August, though.
Well, no, because now remember, they do 2 main events. I mean PLEs in August now. Usually it's class. Well, this year's Clash of Paris. Usually it was Clash. They did it 2 other locations. But
wait, it's
Paris,
not the Clash in Australia?
No. The Australia one you're thinking about, that's the Pearl match. That's in October. It doesn't have a date on here. It just says October. I'm surprised, Final Boss, we don't have Bad Blood this year. We're not getting it. I guess. Survivor Series is the one that really is going to be the last PLE so far that's listed for now. That's in November, but it's November this year, November the 29th, Final Boss. So that's at the end of November. So if you're saying that Cena's matches in
December,
yeah, in December, you said that was the beginning of December. So I'm wondering what would
middle of December 13th ish, around there.
13. So see, that's really close. That's real close to that PLE. So. If I'm looking at the thing, I say Cena turns. Because they're saying that Peru supposed to be something really big for Cena. They're saying it in the commercials. They keep saying it. I don't know if he turns heel after night 2 of SummerSlam. He comes back face before then, because you still have Clash of Paris, or the turn where he turns back at Clash on August the 31st. And like I say, because I don't have an official date. I don't think they listed, because I got this list off of X when they posted it. It depends on when they do it. I'm pretty sure it probably come at the end of October, if they're not doing Bad Blood. I'm pretty sure they're not going to do 2 back to back. So if it's at the end, then maybe we're going to get this turn in Paris. So we'll have to see where we go with that next. Let's go to our next topic, which is the Hogan comments on his interview. Final Boss Lady, did you check this out? Did you see Hogan's comments? I know you said you wanted to hit on some notes about this, but go ahead on your notes on what you wanted to say about Hogan, and I'll give my thoughts.
Well, you can kind of skip back. You probably skip forward 2 things on that list. But we can go ahead and talk about Hogan, even though I just said that here and on there. Yeah, so I caught some glimpse of it. And as a rundown of how it went, you had Hogan there, you had an interviewer there. They was all virtual, and of course you had Eric Bischoff there. Interviewer asked Hogan, what's his response to, the last time we saw you, you were booed at the Raw premiere on Netflix. And Hogan responded back by saying that, he was a big guy in the 80s, and that, that just kind of, what he gets, and that, the people that are still mad at him, And the people that's still gonna ride with him, and if they ride with him, okay. Those who don't, all he can do is prove us otherwise by his actions. He said that people get booed, like Cena has gotten booed. I forgot who else he said gets booed, but he mentioned Cena gets booed, and people have a different reaction to that media wise or social media wise. He said for him, when he gets booed, he got over 1 billion views, and it's just all this extra side reactions to him getting booed. He said that all he can do is just ride off that wave of it. And the interviewer came back and said, do you think they were booing your character or booing Hogan, booing Terry Hogan? And he said, I didn't say they weren't just booing the character, both, and he kind of twisted it in a way. Him saying his response like that, it really attests to things that we've heard. We don't know exactly what happened backstage because he came back in 2018 to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and part of that was he's supposed to, really have a address to the men and women backstage. All we know is what we have heard from wrestlers saying that he did go out there and say a speech, but it was more about him saying, watch out. You don't know who's watching. It wasn't really an apology. It was just saying, be careful when and where you say things. You don't know who's watching. But to hear him say this on an interview where he's twisting it and saying it's because he was a big guy in the 80s and it's part of what he does, and not addressing the elephant in the room, that he's actually being booed because of, his actions he's had in the past, that racist scandal, and then to come out, and I just want to make this very clear. Who you vote for doesn't make you racist. It just was the fact that he came out and openly came to a Republican convention, which is fine. But the fact that you know that he has this past of racism, and then he hasn't done anything action-wise to show that he's bettering himself. Matter of fact, one of the things he pretty much has said in the past is that, it's ignorance because he grew up around that time where, there were things going on like segregation, things like that, because he's 60. But he used that as like kind of like his excuse that he's just basically ignorant now. Okay. So to hear that from this interview and just kind of like twist it and push it in the way where you're not addressing, the actual thing that's happening is to me only just cements everything we heard about what he told these wrestlers back in 2018 about how he's just really insensitive to everything. And I don't know if he's just working with a really good PR team and knows how to twist things like this because he expects these kind of questions in interviews, or if he's really just oblivious to what is going on around him. And then he talks about, how, his he's going to prove that through actions. Well, that happened how many years ago? Hell, even you coming back to the Hall of Fame was in 2018. We're in 2025. What actions can you name, or can anyone name that Hogan has done to help us prove otherwise? I mean, and then he has a beer and he's naming it the American beer. I get why he's doing it, because you can say, well, he was that American hero back in the day. But now that we have the word, American, and certain terms kind of mean other things, more like a wink, wink and a nod. Him to come out, name his beer that, come out during a Republican Party, which again, it's not about who you vote for. It's about, your stands. But to come out and put all these different things together, it doesn't look good. It doesn't give us, yeah, I can definitely hear all your fan and you might want to mute your mic. But it just doesn't look good. And I really want to see what actions he's taken. And then another piece to it, and I'm gonna say my last point on this Hogan interview, at least for this part in this piece of the interview, is that people are saying that Hogan looked really bad in the interview physically, that he looked really, really ill. I don't think so. I think Hogan looked fine. I think his eyes were bloodshot. I don't know if that stress him. Maybe he was a bit frazzled by the questions and then maybe crying, or if it's other things going on, drug use. When we don't know. But other than that, I mean, he sounded like Hogan. He sounded great, actually. I think he looked okay, kept himself up. So, and the fact that people are saying, I've seen memes of Triple H showing like Heaven's Door, and the fact that we just lost, Sabu is insensitive. I know that Hogan has made some really bad choices. I don't think he's a great person. I think he's a bad person. But even Becky is upset about him being, her being compared. She called him a scummy person. A lot of people don't like Hogan backstage. I think there's some additional pieces that went on that we don't know about, because a lot of the newer stars at that time are mad at Hogan, and they weren't even around when Hogan was around, wrestling back when the stuff came out about Hogan. So something was said and during that time that we would never know, unless someone's going to blow the whistle and say exactly word for word and have some kind of proof about what they said. Probably will come out in some book. But but to say, he's knocking on heaven's door, for me, that I think that's disgusting. You shouldn't say that. Hogan has made bad choices, but he's not out there committing crimes. We have stars, and we're not going to say who. We got stars out there that we've heard, bad things about, not just one, not just two, but many, about assault and all these different things. And again, not just one. So, Hogan hasn't really committed any crimes. He's just really not a great person, because he has really, really bad views. And I think, again, people saying that, he's looking like he should be dead or dying is absolutely disgusting for him. And then as far as the second piece, he talked about, we're recalling some of the people that he's worked with, and he said that he worked with Benjamin Shelton, a lot, and he said that a couple of times, and I think it was like 2 times he said his name backwards. It's Shelton Benjamin, the gold standard, right? Guy used to team with Charlie Haas, amazing, absolute crazy athlete, looks great. It could have been a mistake, maybe, but apparently that wasn't the first time he's gotten his name incorrect, and apparently it's looked at as a sign of disrespect. And if that is what it is with Hogan, if that's just truly the intention, and to do that on someone that's African American with his history, that is absolutely just unacceptable and disgusting. So I hope it's just him saying people's name wrong, like how we do all the time on here by accident, and not mean anything more than that. Shelton Benjamin was not very happy about it. He said that him and Hogan were never like pals. They did not have this commodity like Hogan said that he did. He's basically saying that, really, in between the lines, that Hogan just kind of used that to say, hey, I'm not racist. I'm friends with the black guy. But Shelton said no, they weren't tight like that. And that he was not happy that he didn't take the time to actually go ahead and look up how his name is said. It's an easy name. It's Shelton Benjamin. This guy's been around for decades. And he's appeared in multiple promotions. So, I mean, and MVP also agreed with Shelton that he was not happy about that. With Hogan, I mean, I feel like now, even though we heard that after what happened on the Raw debut on Netflix, that he was scared and shaken about him being booed, I feel like now he somehow has an alternate take on reality, where that's not the reason why he was booed, and he feels like they're just booing Hogan the character, and we still look at him as like Hollywood Hogan, and or like just regular Hogan, and we're all just Hulkamaniacs, and we're still buying his merch and doing his signature taunts and buying the feathery long scarves and wearing bandanas like we used to back in the day. And those days are long gone. We are no longer sitting in the front row wearing Hogan merch anymore, because that's what we used to do, right? People just come out and be in the front row and wear either Hogan's merch, Undertaker's merch, or Macho Man Savage merch. And for Hogan, we don't do that anymore. But I think in his mind, that's still going to happen. And if that is the case, that's again just pure ignorance, because you're not working on the change. And honestly, I would not be surprised if Hogan asks just to come back and do something else with WWE. But probably not a match, but he'll probably come out again and host some PLE, probably some Saturday Night Main Event, which he's supposed to do. It looks like he's supposed to be involved, but he said he had family things that I think his son was getting married. He said that's where he was, but he was heavily used during that time, ad wise. And I think a piece of that reason is because WWE hasn't really done anything since 2018 with him. They're still backing his Great American Beer. That's WWE is a sponsor. I mean, we're still getting the average for it, during the shows. They're not selling the beers at arenas, I don't think. You can't buy it in the stores, it has to be online, but they're still having those adverts. So I think he just thinks he's still a great part of the roster, or like really great on like a Legends deal. And to me, it's crazy. Me, I'm done with Hogan. There's nothing he can do to really change my mind about him, especially now, because we're decades beyond the original scandal, and he still comes off as nonchalant, and that's really how he thinks and how he feels, which he probably really does. But I would suggest for Hogan, before I pass it back to you, Miami, is that Hogan needs to work on laying low and doing some social things. And what that means is not social media, but going around in communities, and trying to build up back that trust and that fan base, and really try to turn around. And that way he can go ahead on these interviews and say, and not just say, oh, I'm going to prove it with my actions. You can actually name off those actions. I've donated to this. I've led this. I fought for this law. I've helped this person backstage. He can actually start naming off the accolades instead of just saying, I'm doing it by actions, and you don't even have not even one action to name besides you coming back, being in the Hall of Fame, giving a not so great speech to the roster, then being part, and then going ahead being part of the Republican Party, ripping off a shirt saying Trumpomania, and then coming back just because you now have a beer that's known as the American beer right around the time where we had elected the current president. So, I mean, that's how I feel about it. And that was pretty much what he said. I don't know if you have any points from the interview, or if you have additional thoughts about the interview, about Hogan, or about his relationship between Benjamin and MVP.
You hit most of the points with your thoughts. Great inside thoughts about what you said. And this is just me speaking for me, not for Talk It Up or anything with DWE. Me as a black man, what Hogan said, it affects me, because I know you walk into somewhere, you have those thoughts, those feelings. It feels like eyes are on you. People are staring at you, even though they're not. You're in a room It doesn't matter if you're going into a store and it's a store, you're the only black person in there. I've been in that situation before where you're just so careful because you feel like you're being judged. Um, and like Hogan said, yeah, it was just like something Vince said in his documentary. Times was different back then, so they know better. They already telling you from there. They know better. They're telling you off rip. Well, we know things have changed, but we're not changing. So that's that. There, they're already telling you that. They're already telling you that. Hey, we're this is how we are. This is how we gonna be. With the Shelton thing, I didn't like that either, Final Boss. You said this guy, from what I understand, I learned that too, that he's been saying his name backwards, not just now, for a while. So at first I was just thinking, Hogan's getting a little old. You know how it is when we get a little old. And me, I kind of mess up on names, and please forgive me. I don't mean no disrespect. I do try to come back and correct myself on it. At least I am saying that there's no ill intentions to no one. I love everyone. But my thing is this: he's not just doing it to just be funny. He's just doing it. It's just like, oh my goodness, like you're not having no sympathy for these men. You've been told, and like you said, backstage, we've heard the stories, and it's gotta be true. Mark Henry has said it. MVP has said it. You have Booker T. He was outraged saying it. You have who else? Now you have Shelton now saying it, and probably whoever else was
New
back
Day.
there that.
New Day is not happy with him. New Day is
Okay,
very.
I didn't know. Okay, maybe I didn't know New Day was back there. New Day. Okay, they was there. I know Big E was not. I know he really doesn't have a good relationship with them. So in this community, my community, no one's proud about that. I've had a lot of people that have been Caucasians that have helped me with a lot of things. So everyone's not a bad person. Like you say, who you vote for, who you stand for doesn't make you a bad person. It's what's in your heart that makes you bad. We all make mistakes. We all say things that we don't mean, and we go back and we try to, make ourselves a better people. We're human. We're going to make mistakes. We have relationships with people that we say things and things fall apart just because of words. And sometimes you can repair them, sometimes you can't. I feel like Hogan is in this situation where he says something and it's unrepairable. Maybe he knows that, maybe he doesn't. That's just my thoughts. I'm with you, Funabos. There's nothing he can do and say that will make me feel any different.
That reminds me, the people that he said he compared himself to about getting booed was John Cena and The Rock, and we all know what was the initial stimulation about what happened with this racist scandal. It involved comments about The Rock.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's gonna go ahead and compare himself getting booed to Cena and The Rock, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's like I say, it's a sensitive subject for those who know it. No matter what descent you are, because a lot of people face racial profiling, black, white, Asian, Mexican, whatever race you are, you see that in some kind of form of matter. So maybe Hogan, he needs to, I don't know, maybe stop doing interviews. When it comes to this question, I know when I used to do music, when we used to get to the radio station, they used to ask you. They used to have a list of stuff where they can ask you and what they can't ask you. And maybe he needs to tell these podcasters. I think this thing, when we come to podcasting, or
I think that's
got to go through a list and say, "Hey, what can we ask?
That's by design. That's by design.
You think it's still by design?
No, I think he wanted that question by design because that's
really
Because look at the comment he said. He said he's gonna go ahead. He's gonna ride that wave. That's by design. He wants to have that question because he wants people to talk about it. He wants to get those views. He's gonna
Do
ride
you,
that wave.
do
And
you feel
really,
like
I think at this point, because of Hogan, because there were a time where fans turned on Hogan. So I think for Hogan now at his age, that he knows that he's probably not going to have that last retirement match because of, you know, the ability that he has, the age, things like that. And of course, now people don't want to see it. But I think he said, okay, I'm done with that. So now his legacy, now because it's so tainted, he's going to go ahead. He just accepted that now. And now his last, instead of him having like a last match or something like that, he's going to go ahead and just ride this wave of him having these really questionable opinions and responses to interviews. That's his new stick now. It's that. He made that clear. He said he's going to ride that wave.
do you feel
He's
like
not.
this is keeping him? He's doing this to keep himself irrelevant.
Yeah,
He's not like a Ric Flair.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If Hogan
Because
didn't do
because
interview, I
he
think no
knows
one will remember him.
because he has come to terms that people remembering Hogan for what he was before the scandal came out is gone,
Hmm.
or is there, but you also got to remember this now. And I think he somehow, I don't know if he remembered. I think what happened to him probably during the Raw um, debut on Netflix. I think that's when he really knew that those days of him being remembered for being the Hulkamaniac, Hollywood Hogan, all this stuff, and him hulking up and saying, let me tell you something, brother, and him coming out with the shades and the bandanas and the bright reds and yellow and his signature, scarf with the flowers on it or fuzzy stuff on it, is gone. I think he knows now that this is, he has to accept now this is his ticket to being relevant, and his ticket to him having a legacy, and his ticket to him, making money for himself. This is it. This is it.
Yeah.
Um, and shouts out kind of to him for coming to terms to understand that's where he is in his career, but at the same time it's also just ignorant because years and years down the line, you know whenever Hogan is no longer with us, whether it be another 50 years from now or 40 years from now, whatever the case may be, this is the stuff that's going to come up. And I feel like because he's so older in age that he shouldn't want that from himself. He shouldn't want to have all that stuff he did, to be washed away. But I feel like he just feels like it's just too late. It's already done. Um, but I think Hogan can blame himself, and I think not just about the racist scandal, but I think it's more so about what happened after because he didn't really do anything to change it. So I think this is what happened to Hogan because yeah, we had that scandal, but the things that happened after, even as recently as last year and a few years ago with your speech and everything. Hey Nessa, um, it, he's accepted that. So I mean, I give him that. The question is, will we see Hogan on WWE stage?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe,
No.
maybe,
No.
but
My last thoughts. Before you get to your last thoughts. The whole thing. I did see the stuff where people was doing the images and stuff. I don't wish death on Hogan. What he said is what he said. Sometimes you gotta let other higher power deal with that. Um, I don't wish death on him. I'm hoping he's okay. He didn't look too good to me, final balls from the eyes. I don't know. Maybe he's been looking like that. I don't watch Hogan like that. I don't try to
fatigue,
stir
maybe.
to some negative stuff like that. But we'll see with him. But I'll let you go with your last thought. And we'll move on to our next topic.
No, I mean, I think we covered enough. I think we can move on to our next topic.
All right, let's talk about Dom. He did confronted Finn Balor. It was a backstage segment where he was telling Finn that he could have cost him the match for his IC title when it came to him and Penta. Do you feel like there's a pickup coming here soon, or that season ends? I know you've seen Finn watching that IC title a lot lately. I know I don't know if you've been catching it, Final Boss, where Finn has been backstage with Roxanne. I thought they was going to do Roxanne, him, and Jillian, but I guess not. Do you feel like Finn is going to start? It was going to be him and Roxanne, and maybe they'll probably get some more people. I know JD is a great friend of Finn. Do you feel like JD is going to go with him? Where is this going to go when it comes to Finn and Dominik, Final Boss Lady? What's your thoughts on that?
Hope nowhere. Because I'm so tired of them teasing this break. Now I did like this one was a little bit different because he said, well, what caused the hesitation with the chair? And then Finn just said, well, it all worked on the end, didn't it? It kind of was like a little sly reply. So I kind of like that. But they bring in another woman like Roxanne. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just a living Dom 2.0 Judgment Day. What's the point? It's either break it up and be done with it or not. Now, they want to go ahead and break them up and then have, Finn with Roxanne and they kind of have, their thing over here. That's fine. But they gotta, but I mean, for me, JD is good, but I feel like Judgment Day is holding him down. Finn Balor, we already know he was going to be the next big thing, and he got injured, right? And he hasn't really recovered back from that as far as his booking, unfortunately. And then Carlito, I love Carlito. I was happy to see him back, and he's kind of a little bit shaky. But I feel like him coming out with Judgment Day, it gives some TV time, some of him to do, and to not have many matches because of limitations physically. But at the same time, you have him coming out over and over again. You have commentary purposely saying here comes this goofball. So it just makes you not invested into him as the character. At this point, they're gonna break them up. I mean, yeah, they can have a whole thing. They can do a last thing with Roxanne and with Liv to help that spew that breakup. But either build it right or make it short and then do it. Because the breakup has been going on for I feel like it's been going on for over a year now. So if they're gonna bring Roxanne into it, I get it because it'll give her a story, it'll give Liv a new story, and they can spin things up around there. But what I don't want them to do is to have a Liv and Dom versus Rhea 2.0, but with Roxanne. That's the only thing because that's where it could go. Because we already had it with Rhea. So now we're going to have it with a Roxanne. No, it should just be her coming in and, taking Finn and going. Because we originally thought, Liv was working with Finn, and then that wasn't the case because she's still with Dom. Right? So I mean,
they haven't went nowhere with that yet.
Yeah, they haven't got anything with that. And again, you don't want it to be like a her and Rhea. We don't want Rhea 2.0 and Roxanne as far as, the feud. So, I mean, they're going to do it. I'll be excited to see it, but they got to move quick on it now.
And I know Dominik was, Finn was telling Dominik that don't end up like Priest and Rhea. You see how they got them when they was champions. And Finn calls them the championship, and I mean maybe that was a tease that's going to lead us to something else. We don't know. I'm pretty sure they're going to break up. I see I like I say, maybe Roxanne, but now the whole thing with the breakup of what happened Monday backstage, I don't know. We'll have to see what's going to happen. Maybe they're going to move away from it. Maybe Finn just beats by himself, like you say. I'm hoping he's not bad card because he didn't never get another chance to be in the main card title again. He only had one shot and that was it. I mean, well, he's went forward, but he's not won it yet. I would like to see him get at least one run with it. It can be a 3 months, 6 months, but at least give him another chance with it. You got any final thoughts about this? Final boss lane. We'll
No,
move on to
we're
the
gonna
next
move
topic.
on to our last two topics, and then we're gonna head on out because our goal is to be out here by 7.
Pat McAfee's injury. He showed on Raw. You the one that showed it to me. I didn't see the blood clot in his eyes. Did you feel like he played this injury off good enough? I felt like
No.
I'm gonna give my thoughts real quick. Hold on, I forgot. My bad. I'm gonna give my thoughts. I don't think Final Boss. What was all this for? I mean, kudos to Pat. This was his 8th match. I didn't know that. He did well. This injury, Tony Khan sold the injury better than Pat McAfee, so that tells you that. Jesus Christ, come out with a neck brace or something, Pat, arm brace, something, cast, something, show me something. Um, it wasn't there for me, but kudos to Pat. He came out. Maybe he's just showing that he's a warrior because he wanted to be there for Cole, and he wanted to show that he's a great warrior. What's your thoughts on this whole McAfee injury?
I mean, yeah, he didn't sell. He came out there dancing, right? So he didn't sell the injury. But at the same time, how could he? Where at the end of the match, they stood up and shook hands in a sign of respect. So he couldn't really sell that injury because we already knew he stood up afterward. He wasn't like they didn't call out the officials out or they didn't say he's off at the local medical center or anything like that. So that's probably why he didn't sell it because that part was already gone. He did have a busted vein in the eye, which they don't usually hurt, but they did look pretty brutal. They heal up on their own, so he'll be fine. But they do look pretty bad. He'll have that little red spot in there for a while before it heals up. And if that's the case, usually, like when you're getting a busted vein like that, that means that Gunther actually choked him pretty hard, and it's hard to fake that. So I like that they showed that and they pointed it out because he still did get an injury, and it's Pat McAfee, and the fact that he actually went like that and got an injury like that is pretty crazy. The only thing is that what's the payoff is that we're not writing him off TV, so why are we having the match? Like, I get the whole point of the match, right? It was him sticking up for Michael Cole. Michael Cole is not going to have a match, and we didn't write Pat McAfee off. So why did we have the match? What was the payoff for it?
I don't know, especially when now you have Gunther coming out challenging Jay for the title. I have no clue what. Maybe it was just something that Pat May wanted to do because they wanted to have maybe they didn't have no one for that spot because, like I say, usually Backlash has 5 matches. I don't know.
Maybe Pat told him that he wasn't going to be available, and then he pulled a switcheroo like somebody else and said, "Yeah, I'm actually not going anywhere. I'm available."
I see what you did there.
So, so I mean that's could have what happened, and then by the time they found out, well, Pat, we already building up to the match, so I guess we'll just have this showing that you're okay, so that way they know why you're still here.
Well, I mean, you could have called The Rock. You was right there beside him. Why you didn't say Bay? Why you not out here trying to come at WrestleMania? I mean, you and him was on. He said y'all was on the couch
on the Pat McAfee show. He will let you know when he's coming out. So
you let him answer the phone. Y'all was on the couch. He said y'all was on the couch watching WrestleMania, and somebody asked him, was he coming out? He said he ain't coming.
I will let you know if I was coming out. I'm not coming out.
You know what? Jeez. Let's get to our last topic before we get up out of here. R.I.P. to Sabu. Hardcore legend, Final Boss. I know him from ECW. great matches, hardcore death matches from ECW. I watched a lot of his ECW matches. When I heard this, I was in shock. He was 60, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty young. I know that that was a match that he had that was a retirement match where you had some reports coming out of what some stuff he took, and feet were bleeding, legs locked up. The guys went out there and had a match, and I mean, my God, it was crazy. That's why when I seen this, I was like, this guy just had a match, not too long ago. I didn't know it was a retirement match. Matter of fact, I don't know if Final Boss Lady, right? They said the next day after the match, he was at a signing, and everyone was saying he seemed it okay. He seemed like he was in good health. Was signing for fans and stuff, and smiling, taking pictures and stuff. Right after the next day of this match, so there is that. I did see a report about that. Rest in peace, Sabu, man. We're losing all our legends, especially when it came to ECW. The first thing when you say ECW, I think about him and Taz, Final Boss. Him and Taz, they're the first two names that come to my mind. He was a ECW pioneer when it came to doing this. Give us your thoughts about that, and we'll go ahead and close it out.
Yeah, I was shocked to hear it. And yeah, he's 60, same age as Paul Heyman. My Rock is 53 now. So we're talking about, close in age. We talked about how people are saying Hogan doesn't look too good. Hogan's 60. So, I mean, Undertaker is, I don't know how old he is. So, I mean, I think it's like late 50s, I think is what he is, closer to 60. So, you just never know. With Sabu, I know him from ECW. I know him also for doing some stuff in TNA as well. So here's the thing: is that the story with Sabu. I'm gonna go a little bit into it. With this particular story, Sabu was supposed to have a match in GCW, Game Changer Wrestling. He's supposed to have it with Marty Jannetty. Marty Jannetty's been around. He's known. For those who haven't seen him before, he does a lot of independent stuff. So he was supposed to fight Marty Jannetty. They had concerns about Sabu being ready for that match. It was supposed to be a retirement match anyway. They said no, Sabu's good. He's training for the match. He's great. And then he heard that Sabu's he couldn't walk because his knees had locked up and his feet were bleeding. Which, now that he's no longer with us, it sounds like it's sign of something else. But at that time, it's because you think it's because he was training in the gym. But, at first, when he heard that news, Jannetty said, Mark Jannetty said, they had somebody else come. They said, we're going to cancel the match. We're going to have somebody else come. So fine. Then the day of the match comes and that person didn't show. So they said, go ahead, call Sabu. They said they gave Sabu creatine. Creatine, it's, I know what it is. They describe it as an opioid. It is available at pretty much every single vape shop that there is. They have it. I'm in a state where marijuana is not legal, but that is legal. They have already canceled. They stopped the sales of edibles last July in my state. So they're strong on a lot of different things here, but that is legal. So he took something that is over the counter legal stuff. Sabu, he does smoke marijuana. He took this. There should be a similar effect to marijuana is what this stuff does. He took it. Apparently, he was off the wall. They said, what the hell is he on? Because he was just off the wall. He got to the match. It was a retirement match, barbed wire, everything. It was old school, type of match. And that's what Sabu was known for, right? ECW legend. They went through the match. apparently, like you said, everything was fine, and then 2 weeks later we hear of his passing. It hasn't come out about what was details of what surrounded his death, but I just feel like originally we don't know what would have happened if he didn't have the match and didn't do certain things. Around that time, getting ready for the match, maybe he pushed his limits a little bit too far for the match. Other things could happen, cardiac arrest, things like that. We don't know. But we also don't know if he wouldn't have had the match, and then he would have passed, and we wouldn't have had that retirement match. So, a lot of different things, could be said about that. And, poor GCW and Marginelli, that, they're getting heat saying that they exacerbated this by, having this match, this extreme match, but no one would have known. I mean, this is a story that, that we hear so much. I forgot what's the name of that guy from that tag team. They used to come out and say, "Oh, what a rush!" And he had like
the Roar Warriors, but I can't think of the guy's name.
Roar Warriors, yes. Yeah. So remember, the other guy had passed, but the remaining guy, he was inducted, and then they were talking about doing something with him, a match with him, and he literally died in the parking lot like the next day or like a few days later. Cardiac arrest. And they just talked about doing something with him. And that's what happened. I mean, things like this, free things like this happen. I mean, this is something that's outside of wrestling, but Michael Jackson was going to have that last tour. This is it. We have all that great footage of him rehearsing for the tour and getting ready for the tour. And that tour never made it. And he died like a month or two before the tour was actually going to start. I think he died in June. He's supposed to have it like in July or August. And we didn't expect that because he from the videos of him rehearsing, he looked fine, but we didn't know he was taking fentanyl to get through it. For Sabu, we don't know what he was taking besides the creatine when he was training in the gym. It could have been perfectly legal stuff, but we don't know how it affected him. So then we don't know his stamina. We don't know about, how doing something can trigger other things like Bray Wyatt. I mean, this was another freak thing where he had went to the hospital that day, left the device in his car to take a nap, and was probably going to use it later on the day. Probably just tired from driving to the hospital, to the doctor's office. But he left his defibrillator in the car, took a nap, and never woke up. Like we lost. What was I can't think of his name. The other guy that was in the Wyatt. I was in the Wyatt.
I know you're talking about. I can't think of his name right now.
But yeah, so what do you think of his name? I mean,
I'm about to say Aaron Rowan, but Aaron Rowan's still alive.
No, not Aaron Rowan.
I think of it. It'll come to me.
Okay. Well, Luke Harper. Thank you, Greg.
Luke Harper.
Thank God for Greg. Look at this. Look at God. With Luke Harper, his last match was an Extreme Rules match against Cody in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
That was his last match, and he looked great.
Great match too. Great.
Yep. And he looked great. Everything was well, and then we found out that he had some other health things going on, and then he was doing better, and then it got worse, and then he was gone. So these are things that that we hear, and that the timing of it is just coincidental, I guess. But I mean, this is, like I said, this is the time where you don't want to say things like means about Hogan not looking well when he's the same age as someone that just passed and who had an actual match. I mean, we're talking about retirement. I mean, Ric Flair had a retirement match. You know, where a lot of these folks are at the end of their career. You know, John Cena, he's on a retirement tour, even though John Cena's young, but he's on a retirement tour. CM Punk has probably got a few years left as far as wrestling wise. Same thing with a lot of guys. You know, so this is not the time where you want to say things like that. But yeah, rest in peace, Sabu. I mean, that, I was really shocked to hear that. But we got to be thankful that, he at least had that one last match, and we can go ahead and we can watch that forever.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna let you carry us up out of here for today. If you want to, or you want me to carry us out. I see you meet your mic. You want us to sign us out?
Nope.
Off?
You go ahead and you do the honors.
Well, since I'm doing the honors, y'all see down below, I have our X page handles at the bottom that was strolling at the bottom. I finally learned how to do that. So please subscribe to Talk It Up, like and comment, and follow us on X. You see our X name down there. I'm Miami the Great 645. Final boss is no CEO DWE babies on X. I guess that's how you say it. With BADZ. These new kids, Jesus Christ, I'm getting too old for this. I'm getting too old. We went 3 hours because we probably won't go live again until it gets close to Money in the Bank, because that's the next big match, will be next month. So you won't have a lot of content for quite some time from us, but we do have 3 videos already up. This will be the 3rd video, so this is episode 3. We've done better, as you can see. We've getting the graphs better. Things are coming on better. Shouts out to the EVP from the main event team for coming on today, being a guest. We're looking for many more people. If you want to come on as a guest, I'm pretty sure Final Boss will probably know some people that wants to come on, talk it up. Let's talk some wrestling. That's what we're here for. We're glad for the 281 people that signed in. The 20 people I have on IG that came and watched me on IG for the 30 minutes because I came on late and I forgot to sign in because this StreamYard is weird. It doesn't connect with Instagram for some reason. We'll be trying to link us in with the TikTok too on my TikTok, or maybe starting to Talk It Up TikTok for us to link it in with us. Try to get us on Apple Music, Apple Stream, StreamYard, other streaming service real soon. So Talk It Up has a great future. This is Final Boss's baby, and I'm gonna make sure that this baby's getting taken care of. Catch us here again. Make sure you subscribe. Catch me. I guess whenever you can catch me. Whatever show you'll see me on. Other than that,
wait. I thought you were gonna do Miami Breaks It down or something.
I've been not feeling too well under the weather. I've been not too feeling good. I wanted to do tomorrow where I wanted to break down the NFL schedule, but I forgot that Sunday we will be going live with our CCN crew. We'll be talking about mental illness, mental health, all the mental stuff that you guys want to tune in for. So please join us for that, for us and our CCN family. Shouts out to everyone who came, everyone who's doing something when it comes to this community. Shouts out to y'all, man. Great job for what y'all do. Always remember that you will succeed, and don't let no one tell you won't succeed. Don't let no obstacles come in your way. You will always succeed in what you're trying to do. All you have to do is put your mind to it. Other than that, Final Boss baby, see you next time. It'll be a couple more weeks before we see each other again. So I hope you take care of yourself. Happy Memorial Day, because I won't probably see you by then. Because I know Memorial Day is coming up, and a happy belated Mother's Day. I don't think I got the chance to get to say it to you, but see you again once we go live. Other than that, catch you guys later.